is Miriam Margolyes playing Beep the Meep? Okay, so for those of you who don't know, Beep the Meep is a Doctor Who character who appeared in the comics in the 1980s and is speculated to be appearing in the 60th anniversary specials. If you want to know more about the character, I've made a whole video about that which you can watch here. But in this video, I want to talk about the speculation that Miriam Margolyes, known mostly as Professor Sprout in Harry Potter, but also just an incredible human being.
When I saw him there, I just said, "You've got a hell of a job, the best of luck." And what I really wanted to say,
oh, no, you mustn't say that.
Could be playing the character in the 60th anniversary specials, or at least one of the episodes. But before I get onto any evidence to back up this claim, I first want to go through the evidence that Beep the Meep will be showing up in this story in the first place. So the first bit of evidence we have as to Beep the Meep showing up in this story is someone dressed up as a creature on set that looks very similar to the comic book character. Now it is a very blurry picture and very low quality, as I believe it's been zoomed in on, but this character design does look very similar to that of Beep the Meep. We've also seen set pictures of these insectoid-like creatures that look very similar to the Wrath Warriors, which appeared in that same comic book story that Beep the Meep first appeared in, who are basically space police that are specifically designed to capture and kill meeps, which is the species that Beep the Meep is. And the final bit of evidence that Beep the Meep might be appearing in the 60th anniversary is this crashed escape pod or ship that we've seen on set as well. Now this crashed ship does look very small, so it's very plausible that this is Beep the Meep's ship, as they are a small creature, and the only trailer we have for the 60th anniversary so far may give us a glimpse as to what the inside of this ship looks like, and it looks like the controls are very low down, suggesting that this ship might be designed for a small creature. As well as this, the original comic book story that Beep the Meep appears in does have him crashing on Earth in his ship, so it seems very plausible that in the 60th anniversary Beep the Meep will crash on Earth whilst escaping from the Wrath Warriors, causing them to also land on Earth to try and find them. But before I get into evidence as to why Miriam Margolyes might be playing Beep the Meep, YouTube is telling me that 95% of you are not subscribed to the channel. So if you're enjoying this video, and especially if this isn't the first time you've seen me, I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to reach 2,000 subscribers by the end of the year, which I'm not sure if I'll be able to make it or not, but any help would be appreciated. Now, as for Miriam Margolyes appearing in the 60th anniversary and playing Beep the Meep, this first came to light after a news article suggested that she would be playing a guest role in the 60th anniversary special. Now this can also be backed up by the latest edition of Doctor Who magazine in the production calendar segment, which suggests that on Wednesday the 12th of October, a full script was issued to one of the leading guest actors for the first special. So it is very likely that this could be Miriam Margolyes. But the main bit of evidence that may suggest that Miriam Margolyes is playing Beep the Meep is this other piece of information from the same page of Doctor Who magazine that suggests that on Monday the 17th of October, ADR recording took place at Bang Post Production in London, capturing dialogue for a guest star for the first special. Now for those who don't know, ADR stands for Automated Dialogue Replacement, and what this basically means is voiceover work. So it's very possible that this could be Miriam Margolyes coming in to do some voiceover work for the character of Beep the Meep, as it's very unlikely she's the one playing the actual Beep the Meep in the suit. She's very likely just providing the voice for it, and this very much is not out of the realm of possibility for her, as her only other appearance in Doctor Who was voicing one of the Blathereen in the Sarah Jane Adventures.
"Stand back, Miss Smith."
So what do you think? Is Miriam Margolyes going to be playing Beep the Meep in the 60th anniversary of Doctor Who? Let me know in the comments, and if you want to know more details about the 60th anniversary, I've made a video about everything we know about those specials, which you can watch here. With no festive special for Doctor Who this year, BBC decided to drop us a trailer 11 months ahead of the Doctor Who 60th anniversary specials, giving us a better look at what we'll see in those episodes. In this video, I'm going to break down a lot of the details that we see in this trailer and speculate as to what some of it could mean. So the trailer opens with a nighttime landscape of London, followed by the shot of the TARDIS materializing that we saw in the last trailer, which I believe was from the location shooting in Camden. This is followed by our first official look at Yasmin Finney's Rose, who's heavily speculated to be Donna and Sean's daughter, and we'll be seeing more of her in the trailer later on. Over the top of all this, we hear Donna saying that she feels like she had something special that she doesn't remember.
Sometimes I think there's something missing. Like I had something lovely and it's gone.
Which confirms the fact that Donna's memory is still erased and she doesn't know who the Doctor is, at least at the start of these specials. And we see more of this later on in the trailer. As well as this, we get a couple of shots of what looks like an escape pod or ship, which I've previously speculated would be Beep the Meep ship. And with what we see later on in this trailer, I think it's safe to say that that is definitely the case. We see a few more shots of David Tennant's 14th Doctor, specifically a shot of him running through a hole in a brick wall. And I'm not entirely sure where this could be. Maybe it's the same place that we see the ship being built later on in the trailer. But we also see a shot shot of Donna and the 14th Doctor hugging, which likely suggests that this moment is taking place after Donna has remembered who the Doctor is and is somehow fine after remembering that. We also see the return of Donna's mother, Sylvia, but we don't see any Wilf in this trailer, which has led some people to worry that he might have been cut from the special. But Rachel Talalay has confirmed that this isn't the case. He is definitely in the special, and I have a theory as to why he might not have appeared in the trailer later on. We see the shot of the 14th Doctor exiting the TARDIS, which we've seen in the previous trailer, followed by some footage from what I believe to be the Bristol filming, with a lot of chaotic driving and chaotic people, as well as a lot of destruction and what could be some sort of crash site. We then see the same shot of Neil Patrick Harris's character from the last trailer, who is heavily speculated to be playing the classic villain, the Celestial Toymaker. As for what role Neil Patrick Harris's character could be playing in the specials, I personally like the theory from Poorly Aged Who on Twitter, who suggests that his character could be playing a godlike being who's also a controlling fan of the show. So he's changed the Doctor back into David Tennant and brought back Donna, so RTD can include some meta commentary about how we very easily cling to nostalgia. And I personally really like this theory because it gives RTD a reason for bringing back his characters for nostalgic purposes and having that as a meta part of the episodes themselves, instead of just bringing them back for nostalgic reasons. And it almost makes fun of the fans who only care about the show if David Tennant and Catherine Tate are in it, and who don't seem to care about the show actually moving forward and changing. They just want what they like and want to live in the past that they enjoyed. We also see a shot of what appears to be unit soldiers stumbling onto a spaceship that appears to be being built. Now my theory is that this ship is being built for Beep the Meep, who we see later on in this trailer, as the comic book story that this seems to be based on includes Beep the Meep using black star radiation to turn people into basically zombies that will work for them and help build their ship so they can escape from the Wrath Warriors. If you want to know more about who Beep the Meep is and what role they could be playing in this special, I've made a whole video about the character and their original comic book story, which you can watch here. We then get another look at Neil Patrick Harris's character, who seems to be putting on some sort of German or Austrian accent. I'm not sure if this is how they're going to speak throughout the whole special or if it's just a bit of an act. We then see some shots of Unit fighting off what appear to be the Wrath Warriors from that same Beep the Meep story, followed by our first official look at Beep the Meep in the trailer, talking to Yasmin Finney's Rose. Now I've previously made a video speculating about how I think Miriam Margolyes might be voicing Beep the Meep in these specials, which you can watch here, and in my opinion this voice in the trailer does sound like it could be her.
Monsters.
Next we see a shot of the toy shop Mr. Emporium, which is something we'd seen from location filming and a lot of people believe could be the base of operations for Neil Patrick Harris's Celestial Toymaker, if that is who he's playing, which would make sense as it does look like it's a toy shop. And over this we hear the Doctor talking about how Destiny is heading for Donna Noble.
I don't believe in destiny, but if destiny exists, then it is heading for Donna Noble.
Which just helps explain better why she's showing up in this story when the Doctor happens to have David Tennant's face back again, as it does seem like quite a big coincidence, but this shows that there could be some sort of explanation around this. And we get the Doctor reiterating the fact that if Donna Noble remembers who he is and their adventures, she will die.
If she ever remembers me, she will die.
Which he'd previously mentioned in The End of Time.
If she ever remembers me, her mind will burn and she will die.
The trailer ends with a shot of Sylvia trying to protect Donna from seeing the Doctor so that she doesn't remember who he is, in quite a comedic sequence.
He's not there. You can't see him.
We also get a quick look at Ruth Madley's character, who people are speculating could be working for Unit or maybe even be the new head of Unit if Gemma Redgrave doesn't appear as Kate Stewart. And finally the trailer ends with the same shot we'd seen before of Ncuti Gatwa as the 15th Doctor.
Someone tell me what the hell is going on here?
Now since the last trailer, Russell T Davies has told us that that background is not the background that we'll see in the actual episode, and it's just a placeholder as the real background would give something away. So it's possible that this background could be either the new TARDIS interior or Gallifrey or some other location that we've seen before in the past. But like I said, this is the same shot that we've already seen of Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor, and we see no more new shots of him in this trailer. And I feel like that could be because he's not going to have that big of a role in these specials, and is likely going to only appear in probably the last of the three. And so they don't want to show too much of him in fear of giving us basically all of his moments in the specials. And I think the same could be said for why we don't see Wilf in this trailer, as even if Bernard Cribbins did manage to film all of his scenes before he unfortunately passed away, I still think Wilf is going to have quite a minor role in these specials, possibly just being in one scene, because Bernard Cribbins was in his 90s anyway, so I can't imagine him having that big of a role in these specials. Now that's just everything we've seen from this trailer, and if you think I've missed anything, please let me know in the comments. But if you want to know even more about the 60th anniversary specials, I've made a whole video about everything we know about those, which you can watch here, and I'm going to do the same for everything we know about Series 14 very soon, so if you don't want to miss that, subscribe and turn on notifications. It's believed that they are currently working on a Doctor Who spin-off with Unit, headed by Kate Stewart. I think this is kind of at least a very well educated guess. In terms of writers, if she's up for it, she would be really good for this, because This is going to be a little bit different from what I normally post. I'm basically experimenting with trying to start my own solo podcast, or at least it's going to be solo for now. We'll see what happens in the future. But basically, I've realized recently I've been posting a lot of really short videos that are like 2 minutes long, and I'd rather focus on my main videos that are the like actually highly edited ones that I put a lot of work into to actually be like a bit longer than just like 2 minutes where I just talk about one thing. And so I thought I'll experiment with talking about those kind of things in one podcast, like a few of them all together in one kind of podcast format. If you're watching this on YouTube, there is still going to be like a bit of editing and pictures and graphics coming up, but I'm also going to experiment with probably putting this on some podcast platforms, which if I end up doing that, I will put those in the description. I'll try to remember to put those in the description of like my normal videos as well. And obviously, as you can tell from like the start of the video and the title and thumbnail, if you're watching on YouTube, this is mostly going to be about the unit spin-off. But before I get into that, I first want to talk about a few other things, because obviously, like I said, I'm going to go over a few things in this podcast. So I'm basically going to be going over like a few things that have happened like throughout the past month or so. I don't plan on doing this podcast like on a very regular schedule or like weekly or anything. It's more just like whenever I feel like it, or whenever I've got like a few topics that I kind of don't want to put into their own individual videos because they wouldn't be long enough, but I kind of still want to get into them and my opinion on them and talk about them. And I'll also probably try and do like initial reviews or something on this format before I make like a fully like edited review, if I can anyway. That's like the idea. If not, then I'll just focus on the actual edited reviews. But if I get a chance to like do a review before getting around to doing that, an initial review, and I get time to record one of those, then I'll probably do that when it gets around to the 60th anniversary. I might try and do like a review podcast for each episode that comes out, or maybe just all of them in one podcast, and we'll see how that goes when it comes around to it. But for now, it's going to just kind of be discussions of like news and things like that. So before I get into the main topic of this podcast, which is the unit spin-off and my thoughts on it, I first want to talk about quickly the Red Nose Day special, or I guess sketch that happened during Red Nose Day, because that's something that's kind of notable that's happened fairly recently in Doctor Who. Now, I feel like a lot of people were maybe expecting quite a lot more of than what we got in the special, well, in the episode, in the event. Which, you know, I was possibly thinking that maybe there'd be like a possibility of maybe like a trailer, or they play like a quick scene, or a even more specially filmed like sketch that's, you know, maybe like set in like the TARDIS, or connects somehow to the final regeneration scene of Power of the Doctor or something. But I wasn't like gonna get my hopes up and expect so much, so I wasn't really let down by it. But it was definitely like less than I was expecting that we'd get. But I'm still happy with what we got. It was still like a really fun sketch. And I think at the end of the day, what it really comes down to is I don't think Russell was like desperately trying to make sure they get Doctor Who in Red Nose Day again like they used to do for quite a lot of Red Nose Days back in the day. I think it's more just a coincidence that, you know, David Tennant was already hosting Red Nose Day or Comic Relief or whatever, and so they thought, oh well, we can do a funny quick sketch here where, you know, Lenny Henry regenerates into David Tennant, and then David Tennant is hosting the show from that point on. Which I think that's kind of all the thought that went into it. I don't think they were like, oh, what Doctor Who sketch can we put in here? I think it was more like, oh, David Tennant's going to be hosting, so we might as well make use of him and the fact that he's the current Doctor to do a little Doctor Who sketch. And I think it was fun what we got. It was quite a fun idea. Some nice little surprisingly good regeneration effects for a little Red Nose Day sketch. And they also used, I don't think it's like this on the YouTube version, but they did also use the regeneration music from the Power of the Doctor, which was quite a nice little reference. So I did like what we got. But one other thing before we get on to the main topic of this podcast, because it is quite a big news event at the moment and a big discussion, is the Doomsday announcement. Doctor Who Doomsday, the multimedia event, because there's obviously been quite a lot of divisive discourse, to say the least, on this topic. Now, I, for one, I'm not really that bothered about this. I think some people have severely overreacted to this, which I'll probably get into later, actually, because I probably should explain what it is first, just in case some people are not aware of it. But basically, a few days ago, there was a video posted of a ticking clock teasing for something to be announced the next day. Immediately, a lot of people kind of thought that it was going to be something related to like the 2023 specials, the 60th anniversary specials, because they don't normally tease like announcements in advance for like, you know, audios and stuff like that. And to be fair, this isn't just an audio, so it kind of makes a little bit of sense that it was a bit more of an announcement because, you know, with Big Finish, they just kind of drop announcements. And this isn't just a Big Finish thing. Like, Big Finish are involved, I'm pretty sure. Or maybe it's BBC Sounds involved, I can't remember. But I think it's Big Finish. So it is more than just a Big Finish. So I kind of get that the announcement, why it was a little bit different to just a normal Big Finish, because it is more than that. But it did kind of get people a little bit too excited because they immediately assumed, you know, it was going to be something for like the 2023 specials for the 60th anniversary or something. So I do get that. But immediately, like when I saw before they actually did the real announcement and they did the little teaser, I did like, you know, look in the replies on Twitter, and some people were immediately like, yeah, I think this is like an audio thing or whatever. So I didn't have my hopes too high because some people kind of figured out what it was already. But then when the announcement actually came, it was through this video of the main actress, Suze Kemper, I believe it is, who I'd not actually heard of before this, on a green screen, and they're kind of, you know, appear to be not much of a budget going into this particular marketing, which I'll also get into later. And it was announced that it was basically another one of these multimedia, transmedia events, like Time Lord Victorious a couple of years ago, which personally is something I haven't got into, like, even at all. I've not even listened to or experienced any of the media from Time Lord Victorious at all yet. Like, I know of it, and I knew what it was before even Doomsday was announced, but I'd seen stuff about, but I just never dove into it. I'm not like a big Finish guy, or even that much in the expanded universe at all, besides, you know, maybe like spin-off shows, besides Class, which I did try and start at the time, but never finished. But besides like Torchwood and Sarah Jane Adventures and stuff, I don't get that deep into the expanded media. I've tried to get into Big Finish before, and I just don't think it's my thing. I don't think I have the attention to just have, you know, audio that I need to listen to in the background. So it just really isn't my thing, and I think that's kind of what it comes down to. So, you know, I think at the end of the day, when this Doomsday multimedia event kind of releases, there probably won't be much that I'll be interested in. I probably won't really check any of it out unless, you know, one of the particular things seems really interesting, or it's a particular like media or like medium that I would kind of want to dive into. I know there's like games that are going to be part of it, so maybe if some of the games look interesting, I'll kind of jump into that. But like I said, I didn't dive into any of Time Lord Victorious, and I don't know if I'll dive into this. The concept of like the story sounds really interesting, and I think the idea is that because it's set over a period of 24 hours, there's going to be 24 different kind of stories or whatever told in all these different mediums, which sounds like a really interesting idea. But like I say, it depends if any of them actually like kind of call to me or not, whether I'm going to actually listen to any of them. But back to the actual announcement trailer itself, you know, there's been some kind of crazy reactions to it because, like I said, the budget clearly wasn't that big for this particular announcement trailer, and it's kind of led people to go a little bit crazy and immediately start hating on it, just from an announcement. Like, this isn't really that reflective of what the actual like quality of the content itself is going to be. I don't think we can really judge that by now from this one green screen announcement clip. And I think a lot of people probably are more angry because they were expecting it to be something else related to like the actual show, like the actual episodes that are coming out this year, and then it wasn't. And so now they're kind of directing the fact that this teaser kind of was low budget to kind of be like saying that it's going to be bad because they were already a little bit angry because they expected it to be more than what it was. You know, it's like I've seen some people being like, wow, this Disney budget's really going very well then. If this is, they're kind of taking it as like an indication of what the show and the quality of the show and the production values of the show is going to be under Disney, which is kind of ridiculous and insane because I don't think Disney have anything to do with this part. You know, I'm pretty sure Disney and the Disney Plus deal and the money for that, it's all just involved in the TV, like, you know, the actual show itself and likely the spin-offs that are actually getting made that we are obviously going to get into later. And from what I can tell, Doomsday is kind of it's going over a lot of different like mediums. From what I can tell, none of which are TV. So it's everything but TV, which is the only bit that Disney budget is covering. So it's insane that some people are kind of taking this as a sign of what it's going to be like under Disney and with Disney's budget, when this is like all of the stuff that Disney is not involved in because there's no TV involved in it at all. So I think that's a little bit insane. Going back to the reactions, some people have taken it like way too far. Fair enough, replying to the announcement, kind of saying that they don't think it looks very good. Like, you know, you can still keep that to yourself, really. It would probably be better. But that's fair enough. But, you know, messaging the actor themselves that's taking part in it, you've only seen them in a minute of footage that's just teasing the actual project itself, and you just kind of telling them that they can't act from just based on that 1 minute, and, you know, just whining about this thing, telling them that they should quit while they're ahead or whatever. It's kind of insane. Like, if it's not something that you seem interested in, and you're like, okay, this looks a bit shit, which, like, yeah, from that teaser, the quality and the production value is not there, but we don't know what that's probably not the best judge of what the actual quality of the actual content is going to be. But it's like, if that is how you feel about it, just don't check any of it out. Like, don't buy any of it, don't listen to any of it, just don't take part in any of it. You know, you don't have to like message the actor and go crazy like at the actor themselves. Like, just don't buy it. It's as simple as that. So some people are absolutely insane, and, you know, touch grass, basically. Go outside, touch some grass, because it's just insane. But, you know, like I said, I didn't check out Time Like Victorious. Those things aren't really for me. And, you know, you have to spend, if you want to go through like basically everything and get the whole story, you're going to have to spend a lot of money. I think a lot of the prices for this, at least for like the audios and stuff, or like maybe it's like an audio book, I think, we already like know what some of the prices are, I think, for these things, and they don't look cheap, and I already don't buy Big Finish as it is, because it's not something I'm that interested in. So, like I said, unless one of the games kind of looks interesting to me, maybe I'll check that out, but I doubt I'm going to really get into this anyway. But it's not necessarily just because of the really low budget, low quality teaser that I'm not going to check it out. It's more just, like, even if there was a really good teaser, like the Time of Victorious teaser, I still probably wouldn't check it out because I didn't check out Time of Victorious. But we'll see when it gets to it. I know East Side Games is meant to be involved. I think that's what they're called, which are the ones that made Lost in Time, which, even though I barely understand that game, I just can't seem to get off it recently. So I know they're involved, and so they're going to make a game for it, which I have no idea what it's going to be like. But if you check out all of the published games from East Side Games, at least on the App Store, they're all basically the same as Doctor Who Lost in Time, but reskinned for like another show or something. Like, there's an Office version, the Office version of it, which is just the same game but reskinned. I know they made an Always Sunny game, which I think that looked slightly different, but it's probably basically the same concept. I think they just kind of work with different like IPs and different shows and basically just reskin the same game. So I don't know how that's going to work out necessarily for Doomsday, unless the idea is that they're not actually going to make a new game for Doomsday, but they might just, you know, they have these kind of different events that pop up in Lost in Time. So maybe it's just they're going to do like a Doomsday event in Lost in Time instead of releasing a whole new game, which I think would probably make more sense. So that's probably like, unless I stop playing the game by then, which I might do, that's probably like the only thing I'll check out. But like I said, I barely understand the game, and I'm like surprised that I'm still playing it, but I just can't. Whenever I've got a free chance and I don't know what to do, I just get my phone out and I go on Lost in Time and stop playing it, but I barely understand what's going on, to be honest. I'm just like pressing buttons and things are happening. I just can't get off of it. So, you know, maybe that's like the only part of this I'll check out. It doesn't necessarily seem like something I'll be that interested in. You know, like I said, I didn't check out Time Like Victorious, and so it's more just the fact that it's not the kind of thing that I'm interested in. It's not necessarily the fact that the teaser was so low quality, but I do agree with people about the teaser. Like, it was a pretty bad teaser, pretty low quality teaser. But I didn't get myself too overhyped with it because I kind of figured out before the actual big announcement that, you know, this wasn't something for the actual show. And, you know, even then, not being that interested in it, not thinking it looked that good, I didn't, you know, go out of my way to message the people involved and tell them how shit they are, you know, like that's just insane behavior. So yeah, it's probably not something I'll check out, but I thought it's something worth mentioning because it does seem like something that, you know, people have been talking about quite a bit, and I kind of wanted to give my opinion on that. Okay, so now it's time to actually get into the main kind of meat of this podcast that I wanted to talk about. You know, this was going to be just a video on its own, but I realized it would probably be one of those like videos that I've been making recently where they're kind of just like 2.5 minutes long, if that. And it just kind of doesn't seem worth it to me to just kind of have it in such a short video. So I thought I'll have it as a segment in this. And it's kind of this segment's probably going to be longer than the actual video itself would be, because that's normally, I try and keep those quite concise and like heavily edited, only say things that I kind of need to say, whereas this is going to be more like a little loose discussion. I've not really got like much notes or plans to to what I'm going to talk about with this. It's more just like looking at the announcement, and then I'll tell you what I think about it, why I think it could work, maybe why I think it couldn't work, but I don't think there really is any reason why I think it couldn't work, but we'll see when I get to that. From like the amount of articles and all this and some of the details, it's kind of all but confirmed at this point. Like, it's believed that they are currently working on a Doctor Who spin-off with UNIT, headed by Kate Stewart, who is, you know, the head of UNIT. So there's been a few articles on it, but the main thing I'm going to look at here is a tweet by Matt or MXTT on Twitter. And I've seen a lot of people like sharing this one, so I assume that this tweet is like somewhat reliable, or at least a very good educated guess, if not, because a lot of people have been sharing this one around. But this is titled RTD2 Tidbit number 3, which reads, "The UNIT spin-off is still being written. It will be executive produced by RTD, but like with Torchwood and SJA, he'll only write crucial episodes, including the pilot. Still likely for winter 2024 after Series 14 has aired its episodes, minus Christmas, obviously. Quite crucially, the aim is to bring back existing characters that haven't been seen for some time, and bringing a certain someone from another corner of the Whoniverse. The most surprising of these is Arissa Magumbo, who will have a significant promotion." There's some details here that I didn't expect to hear, and obviously take it with a pinch of salt, because they don't really provide a source. They just say, like, they can't say who the source is, who the insider is that they've got this info from, because they'll risk losing their position and losing their access. But I think this is kind of at least a very well-educated guess, if not, you know, actual insider information. I think basically the idea is that Series 14 is going to be somewhat at like the first half or kind of summerish time, or spring, probably springtime in 2024. And then this show is going to like tide us over until the next season in 2025. So this is going to be at the end of 2024, and I assume before the Christmas special. But what's interesting here is they say that they're going to bring back existing characters, which a lot of people have mostly speculated is going to be Martha, because obviously last we'd seen her, or I believe last we'd seen her anyway, she was working for UNIT still, but we've at least seen her working for UNIT before, so that would make sense. And they also, a lot of people also think that Eve Miles will come back in this show as Gwen Cooper, which I really hope is true, because I really want to see more Gwen Cooper. You know, one of the things I was thinking before is, you know, they could always bring back Torchwood, and in my opinion, like, I know there's some of those insane people out there that are like, Torchwood isn't Torchwood without Jack, which, you know, they're just wrong. Like, I get it. Like, to some people, he may have been seen as like the main character and the main reason that you'd watch the show, but realistically, Gwen Cooper was the main character of Torchwood anyway. Like, we saw the whole show through her eyes. You know, Jack was just kind of the connection point between the Doctor Who and Torchwood. You know, he wasn't really the main character of the show. So I personally could have seen, like, if they did want to bring Torchwood back without obviously having to bring back John Barrowman because of all the controversy around that, they could have easily brought it back with like Gwen Cooper leading a new team. For me personally, like a brand new team. But you know, if they're going to bring her back for the UNIT show as well, that would also be great. I don't know how well she'd work in UNIT, because it's a bit of a different, like, institution. But, you know, any chance to bring her back, I'm happy with. She's one of my favourite characters in the Whoniverse. Definitely a flawed character, for sure, but that's what makes her one of the most interesting characters in the Whoniverse, in my opinion. So that would be cool. But then there's also, and this is not just like what other people have been speculating, but this is in this tweet itself, says Arissa Magumbo will also be returning, which is really interesting. I really like to see her, because I do think she was a really good character. Again, a bit of a flawed character, you know, just pointing guns at people and telling them to do stuff. But she only appeared in, I believe, 2 episodes. I think it was Turn Left and Planet of the Dead. I'm pretty sure those are the only ones she appeared in, so it'd be great to see her come back, because she didn't get much play in like the actual show itself. And I don't know, but I don't think she's appeared in any expanded media, at least like audios or anything. Maybe they've like written books with her in it, because she doesn't have to actually show up to do the books. But I think that'd be really interesting. I like seeing some, you know, lesser known or not as significant characters from the RTD era coming back would be really interesting, instead of just like, you know, bringing back like Rose and stuff like that, like the main people that everybody thinks of. Trinity Wells is one that people are really hoping is going to come back, which I think will just be a great cameo and reference, and also like a bit of fan service, because it's one of those fan servicey things where it's like, it's not like bringing back David Tennant as the Doctor, which, you know, they're already doing, but it's not like something as big as that. It's just Trinity Wells, for those who don't know, is just like the American news reporter that just comes up a lot in the RTD era, and I don't think she's been seen outside of the RTD era. So that's one that would be great to see again. But that's obviously, that's not. I'm going kind of a little bit off topic here. So, I think Arissa Magumbo is kind of like, she's kind of the same sort of level as that, where it's like a lot of people might not really know exactly who it is if you say that name. They're like, I don't know exactly who you're on about, and kind of have to be reminded. But another one that hasn't really been mentioned, I've seen some people mention it, but it's not really been mentioned like seriously, that I would like to see if we're bringing back like some minor players from UNIT, is Malcolm Taylor also from Planet of the Dead. Because he's just like a funny scientist character, and it's like they really need like a scientist. He would be a great one to put in there, especially if they feel like they need comic relief. If it is going to be like a serious show, which I think chances are it probably will be, then maybe they might decide not to have him in there, or you could maybe even like have him be like the character we know, like the kind of comic relief, but you could even like focus some stories on him and get to see his serious side. See if who's the actor? Is it Lee Evans? Yeah, you could kind of have Lee Evans come back and see if he can like do some like really serious acting and do some serious stuff with that character. I think that'd be really interesting to see from a character that we've only seen before doing comic relief. And I do feel like this show is going to be serious, which I am going to get into because I have some ideas as to what this could be like. But in terms of other characters, like personally, I would really like to see them actually just create like a core team of brand new characters that we've kind of not seen before, like they did with Torchwood. Like when Torchwood came out, we knew Captain Jack, and we kind of knew Tosh because she showed up in what was it, World War III Aliens of London. But that was just like because it happened to be like the same actor, and they just decided to give her the same name just as a little nod. But besides that, like we were introduced to a brand new team of people we'd never met before, which I think was really a really cool idea, really good. And not everything has to be references to things that we recognize and things that we notice. And so I think they could do the same and should do the same for this. And obviously, like the main character, like I said, for Torchwood, was a brand new character. Like we saw it through the eyes of someone who wasn't even part of the team initially, and that could maybe be a route they go down with this as well. Although I do think, although I want new characters, maybe the main character should actually still be Kate, like you'd expect, because I think that would personally work a bit better. But maybe we could see it through the eyes of a brand new unit kind of recruit or whatever, like we did with Torchwood. But in terms of if they do need another character that isn't technically like a brand new character, I know there's a character I think he's called Sam Bishop in the unit audios, which, like I said, I don't really listen to Big Finish, so I don't know much about him. But if you bring him in as well, like that could kind of act as a similar sort of thing. Like most people aren't going to know unless they listen to the audios or they know at least something about him. They're not really going to know who he is. So he's going to kind of feel like a new character to general audiences, which is good, so long as you don't have to like make it seem like we should know who he is already and listen to the Big Finishes and stuff to understand everything. But then it's also like a nice little reference for people that kind of know who he is already from the audios, and they can kind of just jump on board and they already know who this character is. But make it so that it works again for new audiences who haven't listened to those audios. Don't overload it with references. You can maybe have some little references to things that he's done in the past that are like not important to the story. And some people who have heard the audios will be like, oh, that's from the audio, I recognize that. Whereas other people will just kind of think, oh, that's just like a little mission they went on in the past, and they're just reminiscing over it. So that could be cool. But I do really want to see, especially with all the characters RTD is bringing back for his era and all these things, I do want to see most of the team, or at least some of the team, made up of brand new characters that we've never seen before. They've never been in the show before. And he kind of can be that in a way, but he isn't obviously technically a new character. It's just most people aren't really going to know who he is. But I especially want there to be at least some people in the core team that are people that haven't made an appearance before, and probably actors that we don't really know of and haven't made an appearance before, like they did with Torchwood when they first did Torchwood. So I think that would be great if they did that. Now, in terms of what the show could be like and like the tone of the show, at the moment, like police procedurals, I think is like what they technically are. They're really big in the UK right now. Like Line of Duty and Happy Valley, stuff like that, have been like massive events when they come out. Like I remember everybody was watching Line of Duty when that came out and trying to make sure they didn't get the show spoiled for them and stuff like that when it came out. I personally haven't seen it, but I remember that being a thing. And then even more recently, a lot of people have been talking about Happy Valley. so they're really big and like massive events in the UK right now. So I could really see like the unit show being like that. Because those just work really well at the moment. So if this show is definitely being made, I think it would be really cool if they do basically make it in the format of these kind of police procedurals that are really big in the UK at the moment. But it's set in the Whoniverse, and instead of it being humans that they're dealing with, or normal people working for the police that are like corrupt and dealing with corruption, which I think is what Line of Duty is about. It can be focused on aliens. So if they do, it's normally about them like dealing with some human criminals in these police procedurals. Do that, but instead it's like aliens that they're dealing with, and it's kind of all stuff that the general public kind of don't really know about and don't really see. And then if they kind of want to go down like the corruption route, like they do with like Line of Duty and stuff, you could have it where it's like the Slitheen or the Shoal of the Winter Harmony Shoal, whatever it's called, infiltrating like the infiltrating unit and kind of making it corrupt. Because those are aliens that can like disguise themselves as humans, and so it's not really as easy to tell. Or even maybe just have like some humans that are working for unit. Kind of being told what to do by and working for some alien organization or something, if you want to go down that corruption route. So I think basically making it like a police procedural but set in the Whoniverse would be a really cool idea. And I'm sure if this is definitely a show that they're doing, that I'm sure that's something they're thinking about, because I can't see like many other ways to do it unless you basically just do Torchwood again, but it's a unit instead of Torchwood, which is still a similar idea, but it's not really a police procedural. So I think that would be really cool. Now, obviously, they said Russell's going to be basically executive producing, and I don't know if they said showrunning. I think they just said executive producing, writing the crucial episodes. But in terms of writers, I remember a while ago, before RTD got announced and people were trying to figure out who the next like Doctor Who showrunner was, people were thinking Sally Wainwright, who wrote Happy Valley, which we were just talking about, one of the police procedurals. They thought that she was going to be, or could possibly be or the next showrunner for Doctor Who before Russell got announced. If she's up for it, she would be really good for this, because she did Happy Valley, which is a police procedural, and so she knows how to write those things, and all she has to do is make it set in the Whoniverse and have aliens involved somehow. And I think she could do something really interesting with that. This is probably quite far-reaching, but maybe it's possible, when those rumors were about, that like the reason those rumors were about, it could be that maybe people were kind of, they knew that she was going to be involved in Doctor Who somehow, but they assumed it must have been as the showrunner for the main show or something like that, when really she might have already been in talks for doing this unit spin-off. Now, I do think that's quite unlikely. It's probably just a coincidence that people were, people just knew that she was a big showrunner at the time in UK TV, and that's probably why they were bringing her up, because at that point, Russell hadn't even been announced at that point, and he might not have even been in talks to join the show again yet, come back to the show. So I think it's very unlikely that they were already then thinking of, a unit spin-off and who they could get to write a unit spin-off. But it's always the possibility, or maybe they did have talks with her to be the showrunner of Doctor Who, and she didn't want to do it. She declined it. Maybe she said, "Oh, if you want to do like a unit spin-off, one time I'll be down to write that, because that's up my alley." Maybe those rumors didn't come out of nowhere and could somehow be linked to this, and could kind of back up the claim that maybe she could be coming in to write this. But that's just like, take that with a pinch of salt. That's just kind of like a stab in the dark, really, and I'm just kind of speculating there. But even if that isn't the case, I do think she would be a great choice to write this, because if they're wanting to tap into those police procedurals that are really popular right now, she knows how to do that, and she clearly does it really well, because she's written some of the biggest ones and some of the biggest shows in the UK at the moment. It's possible, I don't know, but it's possible. I feel like more people are probably watching the new series of Happy Valley than the current series of Doctor Who. Who knows? I haven't really been looking at that stuff. I'm not a figures guy, really. So it would be a great get if they could get her to come in and write the unit show. Like they said, Russell's writing the crucial episodes, if this is true, and he's going to be the executive producer. There's probably going to be a few other writers writing the episodes, although I assume it's only going to be around like 6 to 8 episodes long, because the main show itself is only going to be eight episodes a season, so it's not going to be more than that, surely. But maybe she writes most of them, or maybe it is literally just a split between RTD and her, and he's kind of, setting her up to basically run it herself if it carries on for more seasons, like he did with Chibnall with Torchwood. So, but like I said, she might not even be involved at all. But if she is, that would be like the perfect choice. That would work really well, and I think that would be really good because it's the exact, it's the genre she's already like perfected and been working in really well and doing some really great TV from what I can tell, without having watched it. And so all she has to do is, combine that with science fiction, which, I don't think she's written before. And she might have even said, she's not really very comfortable when those rumors of her being the showrunner for Doctor Who are coming out. I might remember her even saying she wasn't that comfortable with writing science fiction. And so that's probably why she didn't take on the show. Maybe she'd be more comfortable making, a sci-fi version of the kind of shows she already writes, and that could convince her to come on board, and that might be exactly what happened. Oh, one other thing I wanted to talk about with the unit spin-off, and I almost forgot this, to go on a little tangent to kind of set this up, and I promise this is connected in some way. The Torchwood theme is one of my favorite pieces of music in the Who universe. I might even like it more than any of the actual Doctor Who themes. It's an absolute banger. I just like to listen to it sometimes. It's really good. Those of you who might not know, the Torchwood theme, it showed up before the show itself, the spin-off show, actually launched. In some way, it was a bit of a different version, but it showed up when, Torchwood showed up in Series 2. That was the first instance of, well, I believe the first instance of the Torchwood theme. It was the same sort of melody and stuff, but they kind of reworked it a little bit to turn it into the theme song when the actual show itself launched. That score was already, perfect for being a theme for the show, and all they had to do was kind of rework it slightly, and it turned into one of the best pieces of music in Doctor Who, and it's just a great theme. As well, in the RTD era, when Murray Gold was composer, or the theme that played when Unit always turned up, it's also a great theme, and honestly, someone that I'm subscribed to on YouTube, I think it's the Beast of Trenzalore, but I'll correct myself if that's wrong. They posted their own version of what they think the Unit theme could sound like, the title sequence theme, which is basically the Murray Gold Unit theme from when Unit show up in RTD. I really hope they use the already existing Unit theme, because it's just like perfect title sequence music, and it'll be so good. Just like the same as what they did for Torchwood when, they needed title sequence music for Torchwood, and they just used the Torchwood theme, but made it better. When I heard that on that channel, I was like, this is perfect. They've already got a title sequence music set up, a theme song set up, which is just great. Even if it's not Murray Gold that returns for Doctor Who and for these spin-offs and whatever to make the music, I'm sure they're allowed to use the melody or ask permission for use that arrangement. And I really hope they do that, because it's perfect for title sequence music. And yeah, I think that's basically all I have to say about the Unit spin-off. So, if I missed anything about it, let me know. And if there's anything about it if there's anything you want to see from the Unit spin-off, any ideas you have to how it could work, who you think you could write it, who you think could be in it, let me know in the comments. I might discuss them again in another follow-up podcast or a video or something if there's some good ideas in there. So let me know what you think about the Unit spin-off, and let me know if you think it's definitely happening in the first place, or if you think these kind of rumors have kind of been blown out of proportion a little bit and it might not actually be a thing that's happening, because it's not been confirmed yet. Now, there is also, it's been rumored that the Monsters spin-off that's meant to be happening, which I think is meant to be like an anthology of, different monsters. I've heard somewhere that that's meant to be like an animated show, which sounds about right. That makes sense to me, but I don't know where that's actually come from. I haven't looked for the source on that. But if there is one, I'll put it, on the video version on YouTube or in the links. But I think that just makes sense. That would be really good, and I'm excited to see that as well. If that show is definitely going to be a thing, it sounds very interesting and very new. Because the Unit spin-off sounds very similar to something like Torchwood that we've seen before, whereas this sounds, especially if it's an animated one, sounds very unique and new. We need more new stuff, especially with all the old stuff that RTD is bringing back. it'd be nice to see something new, so that'd be good. But we've also heard from Chibnall in the Radio Free Scaro interview recently. He also said that he wanted to do spin-offs. You know, maybe we could have got like a Fugitive Doctor spin-off or Division or something like that. You know, he wanted to do spin-offs, but the budget just didn't allow for it. And so that's interesting to hear about. It would have been interesting to see what those would be. Maybe one day we'll hear about what those would have been, but I doubt that. But in that same interview, he also talked about how Flux was almost cancelled because of the restrictions with COVID and rescheduling and stuff like that. And that was just a really interesting thing to hear about during that interview. And I've actually made a whole video about that. It was the last video I posted on my channel, one of those short 2.5 minute videos that I'm going to try and stop making. So if you want to hear more about that, you can check that out. And if you're watching this or listening to this on the YouTube version, I'll put that on the end screen now for you to click. But yeah, let me know what you think of this new format, this new podcast, and any of the things I discussed. And thanks for watching or listening. Over the past week or so, it's been confirmed that previous Doctor Who composer Murray Gold will be returning to the show, alongside a few more filming images from Series 14. But is Murray's return a good idea? Okay, so before I get into the main topic of this podcast, I first want to talk about a couple of other bits of news to do with Doctor Who. The first of which is the alleged Fortnite leaks that have been seen on Twitter, which I guess somebody must have hacked Fortnite or something like that, just to see that there's allegedly going to be a collaboration between Doctor Who and Fortnite, allegedly probably happening some point in November, maybe even earlier. Now, some of you may be thinking, you know, this could just be some fake photoshops that somebody has made, and I did think that when I first saw it, but the person that's been tweeting about this on Twitter, which is iFireMonkey, they're not a Doctor Who page, they're a Fortnite leaks page. The main thing they talk about is Fortnite leaks, not Doctor Who. So they wouldn't really have much of a reason to fake a Doctor Who specific collaboration. And they probably don't, as far as I'm aware, know that much about Doctor Who themselves personally anyway. They've just found out about this because they look at Fortnite leaks. So that does lend a bit of credence to this idea that this could be legit. But what this seems to cover is there's basically, as far as I can tell, going to be an event that's called Unit Code Red, which allows you to unlock different Doctor Who items that you can use in Fortnite. So I'm going to go over a few of the rewards and stuff that they've talked about on Twitter, but it's going to be very brief. So there's a list of things that you're allegedly going to get with this Unit Code Red event. First one being a Star Cruise glider, which I'm assuming will be Beep the Meep's ship, the Star Cruiser. I'm assuming that's Beep the Meep's ship. A wrap and loading screen that haven't been found or announced or whatever yet. A TARDIS emoticon, 3D glasses spray, which makes sense because of the 10th Doctor's 3D glasses. A banner, another one that just says an emote. I think it might be the Sonic Screwdriver emote, actually. I think I've seen a picture of that. One back bling, which is a backpack that you, in Fortnite, back bling is a backpack. I'm not sure if we know what the back bling is for this particular event. I can see something here that looks like the things that they use to travel between the parallel worlds in Doomsday. So maybe that's the back bling. I can see that in here. I think that's what that's meant to be anyway. So maybe that's what the back bling is. There's also another one showing an image of a Beep the Meep spray, which looks really cool. And in terms of the outfits or skins that you can get, it's obviously going to be the 14th and 15th Doctor. So David Tennant and Ncuti Gatwa's Doctors. There's another one that also says the glider is going to be the TARDIS. And I've seen some people speculating that you're going to hang on to the TARDIS kind of like in the opening of Day of the Doctor, which I think is a really cool idea. There's going to be a psychic paper emote, and the pickaxes allegedly are going to be the Sonic staff, which I think I've seen an image of somewhere, but I haven't got that one up on here, which is basically just seems to be the Sonic Screwdriver that David Tennant's been using in the 60th anniversary set pictures, but they've elongated it to work as a pickaxe. And there's also going to be the Dalek manipulator arm, so the Dalek plunger as another pickaxe. There might be a few other things that I've missed, because I know there's another image that shows those pickaxes and other things. But the last thing with this that I want to talk about is that there's a script which I think is meant to be for a trailer that people think is going to be airing via this Fortnite event, which seemingly refers to the 14th Doctor, at least, as the Edge Doctor, or it refers to somebody in it as the Edge Doctor, and people are assuming that this must be the 14th Doctor. So this does actually have, it tells us something possibly about the 60th anniversary special itself, and that the Edge might have something to do with the 60th anniversary specials, which I first thought when people were thinking about this way back when we saw like the brief shot of Shooty in the trailer. I thought it was very unlikely that we'd get the Edge because Russell is writing these episodes, and the Edge was featured in Power of the Doctor, which is a Chibnall episode. And Russell, as far as we know, is probably writing the episodes when Power of the Doctor like hadn't come out yet, but he had seen Power of the Doctor early, so it is possible that maybe he'd already been writing it or coming up with some ideas. He saw Power of the Doctor and he thought, okay, I can implement this in some way, maybe as a way to explain why David Tennant's back. So it's not completely out of the realm of possibility that he hasn't taken a little bit of inspiration from Power of the Doctor, but it is interesting that we'll be seeing the Edge again so soon, although I guess it makes sense with the whole thing being about, you know, the regeneration going wrong. So if this is real, which I'd like to believe most of this is real, considering this guy is not a Doctor Who guy, then that's really cool to find out. And, you know, the 14th Doctor may also be referred to as the Edge Doctor. Okay, so the next bit of news that I want to talk about before getting into the Murray Gold stuff is about Jinx Monsoon's character being announced and the costume reveal with that. So obviously, at first, she was announced to be playing a villain with just a generic photo shoot of her in just one of her normal drag outfits, I assume. But not long after that, we got another image, another photo shoot with her, which had a couple of images in it of her in her villain outfit just before she went on to do a bit of filming for Series 14. And this villain outfit seemed to have, it seems to be based on like a piano, like there's piano keys on like the lapels or the collar or whatever. And so this has led some people to believe that they might be doing a musical episode for Series 14, which I'm going to get more into later on. But for now, I just want to talk about what people have been speculating about this character specifically rather than the episode. Because I've seen some people speculating that this could be the same character that Neil Patrick Harris is playing in the 60th anniversary specials. And I think people are thinking that either Jinx Monsoon could also be like the Celestial Toymaker, which they think Neil Patrick Harris is, or maybe they're just thinking that they're the same character, but it's like maybe just some other Time Lord that isn't the Celestial Toymaker or something like that. And I think this might be because of the musical elements and because we've seen Neil Patrick Harris's character dancing and singing on set with David Tennant. And there is also a shot in the trailer where he's like throwing the petals that does look like it could be from like a bit of a singing and dancing number in the 60th anniversary. So it does seem like Neil Patrick Harris could possibly be like singing and dancing as well. So I think that's led some people to believe that this could be the same character, which like I definitely think it's a possibility. But I personally do hope it's a different character, or at least if it is the same character, I do hope it's like a new character instead of the Celestial Toymaker. Because I like the idea of the Celestial Toymaker being in the 60th anniversary specials, because, you know, it's an anniversary special, so it's perfectly fine for old characters, especially some classic characters that we've not seen in the new series to show up. But I don't want that character to then immediately return in the next series as well, unless maybe they are trying to have them as like a new replacement for the Master, where they're like the recurring villain that shows up all the time. But I just personally want this character to also be somebody new. And sure, maybe like the Celestial Toymaker does do a little bit of a singing and dancing number or whatever in the 60th anniversary specials, but not much. And then this character could actually be specifically focused on like music and turning things into a musical, making like forcing the characters to sing and dance outside of their control or something. Whereas Neil Patrick Harris just might do a little bit of singing and dancing for fun or something like that as the Celestial Toymaker or whatever character they're playing. Because I personally want more new characters instead of just bringing back the same characters immediately after they've just been in an episode. So getting on to more of the stuff about the musical, the possible musical episode with Jinx Monsoon, we've seen some more images from filming, some official images this time, of the 14th Doctor and Millie Gibson's Ruby Sunday in some 60s outfits. Now, first, some people had just spotted them on set and taken a few pictures of them on their phones or whatever, but not long after that, we got some official looks at that. And so, interestingly, the Doctor is in this 60s outfit that looks very different, especially in terms of colours, because there's no, like, orange in there, to their normal Doctor outfits that we've seen, which I'm going to talk about later on as well. And most interestingly, he also has a bit of an afro, which at this moment in time, we're unsure as to how he actually is going to get that. But I do have a theory on that personally. Now, some people have speculated that this could be that they get trapped in the 60s and they've lived there for a long time, so his hair just naturally grows out. I think that's a possibility, but I don't personally think that's the case. And as well, some people have speculated that maybe it's a wig. Like, obviously it's probably a wig in real life, but some people have speculated in the show, like, the actual reason for it is the Doctor just puts a wig on, which again, that could also be the case, but that's not personally what I think it is. I think this could feed into the theory that this is a musical episode where Jinx Monsoon's character has the power to force characters to, like, sing and dance outside of their control, and that maybe they're able to, like, alter the clothing or perception, maybe even the location of these characters. So maybe Jinx Monsoon's character has trapped them in the 60s and changed their appearance and is forcing them to do things outside of the control, including singing and dancing. And Ruby and the Doctor have got to figure out why this is happening to them and who's doing it to them, and find Jinx Monsoon's character, which I think would be a really cool idea. But, you know, there's also always the possibility that maybe the Doctor has another sort of regeneration ability that we don't know of, where he's able to just force his hair to grow out a bit or something. There's also apparently been a piano that's been on set with this, where they think there's going to be like a piano drop scene or something like that. And I think there's a body double for Millie Gibson who plays the piano, so maybe Millie Gibson knows how to play the piano, and that somehow factors into this. But some people have also speculated that it is meant to be also Jinx Monsoon's piano double, but I'm pretty sure it said it was Millie Gibson's on like a sign on a trailer or something like that. So yeah, it does seem very possible that we might be getting a musical episode. And, you know, I'm not the biggest fan of musicals in general, but I think I like when episodes do something different, and especially with this season, it seems like it's going to be very campy again, especially with, you know, Jinx Monsoon's costume and all that. And so I'm excited to see what it's like. You know, I'm not against the idea. I think it'll be very interesting to see, even if it's just a bit of an interesting, you know, experiment that they never do again. Okay, we've also seen some more filming for what seems to be the Christmas special that had been filming at the start of this year. So at the start of this year, we'd seen Millie Gibson filming in, I believe it was in Bristol, on a street, and we'd seen the scene where she comes across the TARDIS for the first time and stuff like that. But at that point, I think Ncuti Gatwa was filming Sex Education, so he wasn't there at that time. So they seem to have gone back to that street in Bristol, done it up to look like Christmas again, and are filming Ncuti's bits over there. So because of this, we've got a better look at the costume that we'd seen Ncuti in the graveyard for the Christmas filming earlier on in this year, which is something I'm going to get into in a little bit. But we also seem to have got a look at Ncuti using the sonic screwdriver. We haven't necessarily seemed to have got a look at the actual sonic screwdriver himself. We've just seen a video of him like pointing the sonic screwdriver at a door to open it. But there has been another photo of Ncuti holding something in his hand, which it doesn't look like a sonic screwdriver. So it looks like it's probably just like another device, like what the 10th Doctor used to do all the time, where he made devices to like scan things, or it's like an alien device for something for the episode or something like that. But it is also possible, even though it looks very different to a sonic screwdriver, that this could be the sonic screwdriver and it's just had quite a drastic redesign, which I'm excited to see if that is the case. But like I said, it's probably not the sonic screwdriver because it doesn't really look like one, but who knows, it could absolutely be that. Okay, so like I also said, we got a better look at the costume, which is the one with like the orange and purple kind of shirt that he has, and the blue trousers, the cool trainers, and the long leather brown jacket, which for me personally is definitely my favourite Ncuti Gatwa 15th Doctor. I might have been calling him the 14th Doctor earlier on in this video. Hopefully I haven't done that. Of the 14th Doctor and Millie Gibson's Ruby Sunday 15th Doctor costume, and honestly it might be one of my favourite Doctor Who costumes, possibly the best one that I've seen ever. So I hope that he wears this most out of all the costumes, which it seems like he might be because it's one of the ones we've seen him filming in the most. But obviously this isn't the one they officially announced his costume reveal in, and it does seem like he's wearing quite a vast range of costumes throughout this first series, because we've seen this one, we've seen the officially revealed one, although we haven't really seen him filming in that one. We've just had the picture of him in it. We've obviously seen the 60s one, although I assume that's going to be a bit of a one-off. But we've also seen barely a very, very, very blurry and pixelated picture of him on some cliffs at some point, where he's got like this red or like burgundy kind of beanie on and a long orange coat on that almost seems a bit like a raincoat, and that one looks really cool. And I hope we get some more high definition, maybe even official pictures of that one soon, because we really couldn't make it out completely. But yeah, this one that he's been filming the Christmas special in definitely looks like my favorite one so far, and it seems like, because it's the Christmas special, it's probably going to be his first main costume, but he does look like he's going to get a lot of costume changes, at least just in this very first series as well. But maybe this is just what the 15th Doctor's going to be like in terms of costumes for his whole era. He's just going to kind of have a Peter Capaldi approach to it, where he has different costumes every episode, which I think would be very cool. Now, there is a few other things that have come up about Series 14 recently. Some stuff with like concept art that I'm not going to show here just in case, you know, they want me to take it down or something like that. But I am planning on doing an updated version of the Everything We Know About Series 14 video soon, because I've done one video about that so far and it's very outdated now. It was before we even knew Millie Gibson was going to be the companion, and we was thinking, I think it's Rose Ailing Ellis, we was thinking she was going to be the companion. So I do need to do an updated version of that to talk about a lot of things that I've not really mentioned yet, like the stuff with Roger Ap Gwilliam and all that stuff. I haven't made a video about any of that yet, so I will be working on one of those in the next couple of weeks or month or so. So look out for that and subscribe if you're not already, so that you don't miss that. And I will also be doing an updated version of the 60th anniversary or 2023 specials at some point as well. Okay, so in case you've been living under a rock, we've also had the big news in the past week that Murray Gold, the former composer for Doctor Who from the first RTD era and the Moffat era of the show, will apparently be returning for RTD2.
We are recording music with the National Orchestra of Wales for Doctor Who 2023, or RTD2. I'm Murray Gold, and I'm the composer on Doctor Who.
And honestly, like a lot of people, I've got mixed feelings on this. I love Murray Gold's music. I get that obviously I Am the Doctor started to get overused at a certain point, but I don't think that was down to him. I think that was more of an editing choice, or, you know, the producers were saying, you know, they knew it was very popular and they wanted it in there more. So I don't blame him for that. But besides that, I do love Murray Gold's music. I think it is great. I'm not saying I don't like Sagan Akinola's music. I know I'm repeating a lot of things that everybody else has said on this so far, but Sagan's music was very different, and it was more like ambient music, which I know I've heard a lot of people saying, and I think that does work really well. So I like them both for different reasons, but there's lots of Murray Gold tracks that I actually like know and really like, because they're actually like properly in your face and really bombastic, which isn't necessarily the best way that you're meant to kind of compose music for a show, but I can't help but love those tracks. And so I'm very excited for him to return personally, especially for the 60th, which makes sense because obviously Donna's coming back, and so we'll hear more of Donna's theme. And obviously with David Tennant coming back, we might get like a bit of a similar version of the 10th Doctor's theme for the 14th Doctor's theme, if that kind of makes sense. And obviously we might get a new version, well, we will get a new version of the opening titles theme, which, you know, with it being the 60th and it being David Tennant and Catherine Tate, maybe it'll be similar to that of the first RTD era theme, just for the 60th, or something like that. And we've got a quote from Doctor Who magazine where Murray was asked, now that David Tennant and Catherine Tate are reprising their magical double acts, can we expect some musical callbacks? To which Murray said, it's inevitable that you're going to get the odd reminiscence. For example, there's a little bit of Donna's theme as soon as we hear her. There's a bit of the Doctor's theme in there too, but they're not old recordings. All the music that I've done so far is brand new, even when it's evoking an older theme. Then I think for Ncuti, it's important that the music feels brand new, which I think just sounds really good. Obviously, it makes sense to have a bit of a reprise of those themes that we heard during that era, with it being the same characters coming back or the same actors from that era. And that'll be really exciting, especially considering they're not just going to obviously put the exact same song in there. He's going to do like a bit of new version for each of those themes. And I think that makes perfect sense for an anniversary special that's celebrating the past and these characters. But in that, he obviously also stated that he's going to be doing music for Series 14, and this is also being confirmed by Russell T Davies on Instagram, where he seems to confirm that Murray Gold will also be doing the music for Series 14, which is the aspect that I'm a bit mixed on. Like I said, it obviously makes sense for the 60th. It's an anniversary, it's celebrating the past. Of course, get Murray Gold back for it. It just makes sense. But I do feel like it's a little bit unfortunate that we're not going to get to hear music from someone new for Series 14 and beyond, we are definitely getting a lot of new talent for Series 14. You know, the casting's all new. We've got like mostly all new directors. There's probably going to be some new writers in there, hopefully, alongside Russell T Davies. And so there's absolutely some new stuff going on in the RTD2 era. But I think hiring a new composer would have made the intent to try and make something new and move forward even more obvious. And so just going back and hiring Murray Gold again for Series 14, it's a bit of an odd choice in my opinion. And it makes me worry even more that this second era isn't going to be as different as we might want it to be and as I hope it would be. And it does make me worry that we might be treading a bit too much old ground again, which I really hope isn't the case. I really just hope they haven't come back just to do basically the exact same thing again. And I think Council of Geeks in their new video about this, I think they put it really well as well.
And again, it's possible, and I'm going to hold on to that hope, but that's the thing. It's now a hope. It was faith. I had faith he wasn't going to just try and recapture and redo the same thing. I don't have faith anymore. I have hope, but that's a lot more fragile.
So I really hope that I am wrong with this. You know, he did say in that quote about Shooty that he is going to do something new for that. And if you listen to his music in other shows that he's worked on since, even with Russell, you know, they are very different and he does know how to do something differently. So it's absolutely possible he could still make something that sounds new and doesn't just sound like the first RTD era. But I just personally think it would have been really nice to give that role to somebody new. And that would have just been, you know, the job of a lifetime for whoever would have got that. So it does just seem weird that after, you know, the Chibnall era, we have literally gone back to almost the exact same team for the RTD2 era, besides the cast and the directors and possibly some new writers that might come on board. But at the same time, maybe we will end up having the perfect mix of new and old people on the crew. I just think the composer would have been a nice one to give to somebody new. But there is a positive thing that might come out of the fact that Murray Gold is returning, as quite infamously, the soundtrack for Series 10, which was by Murray Gold, still has yet to be released, even though it was from like 2017 or something like that. But since Sega Akinola came on board, that soundtrack has never been released. And so with Murray Gold returning, a lot of people were excited as they thought this might be the time that we finally get the Series 10 soundtrack, which at this point has been like a bit of a joke that it hasn't released. Like people have made a lot of jokes about it and there's even like whole Twitter accounts about it and stuff. But with this newest issue of Doctor Who magazine, Murray Gold was asked about the Series 10 soundtrack and if it will be released. And in this interview, he has confirmed that he will make sure the Series 10 album does get released. He hasn't said exactly when or that he's been told that he can do it or anything yet. He just said that he is going to try and make sure that that does happen. So there is some good news to come out of this. And like I said, I am excited for him to return. So this isn't the only good news. I'm very excited to hear some more new music from him, a new version of the theme, some new versions of older themes like the Donna's theme in the 60th. And like I said, I do think it is a perfect idea to bring him back for the 60th anniversary. I just do think it would have been really nice to have somebody new for Series 14. But let me know what you think. Are you glad that he's come back in general? Do you think we should have had somebody new, or do you think we should have had somebody new at least for Series 14 like I do? And what are you most excited to see from Murray Gold? Is it these new versions of old themes, or is it specifically the Series 10 soundtrack? Over the past week, a teaser trailer for the Doctor Who 60th anniversary specials has been seen interrupting one of the BBC idents. This teaser seems to hint about the plot of the 60th anniversary specials, specifically one of the episodes, and it also seems to hint at when we might be seeing the next full trailer. So I've seen a lot of theories going around about this trailer. Some of it I agree with and some of it I disagree with. And personally, I think I've been able to figure out what the plot of at least the first special of the 60th anniversary celebrations will be about. Now, this isn't because I think I'm better than anybody else. I just happen to have made a video about the Beep the Meep comic about a year ago. And so I know quite a few details from that. And along with this teaser trailer and the other trailer that we got at Christmas, I've been able to put a few pieces together. So one of the first things we see in this trailer is some binary code.
Binary. I'm fine.
Which has been decoded to spell out the Star Beast. Now, this is a title of a Doctor Who comic that appeared in Doctor Who Weekly in 1980, featuring Beep the Meep. The basic premise of this comic is that Beep the Meep crashes on Earth while being pursued by Wrath Warriors and turns locals into zombie drones using their Black Star drive from their ship to help repair their ship and escape the the pursuing Wrath warriors. Now, the Meeps, although they look like innocent creatures, are actually a savage race of aliens, as they have been corrupted by Black Star radiation. So don't trust Beep the Meep, as cute as he does look in that trailer. Now, one of the first things we see in this teaser trailer is what looks like a time vortex, and a lot of people have speculated that this might be the new time vortex for the title sequence and that we see the TARDIS flying through. But I personally don't think this is the case, or it has the possibility of being something different, which I'm going to get into later in this video. So one of the next and most important parts of this teaser trailer is the shot of a unit soldier with glowing eyes, which I've seen a lot of people suggest could be the continuation of Harmony Shoal infiltrating unit from The Return of Dr. Mysterio, or even a Wrath warrior in disguise. But once again, I personally don't think this is the case, as I think this actually relates to something from the original Star Beast comic. In the previous trailer, we see a shot of some unit soldiers seemingly stumbling on Beep the Meep's ship in some sort of construction yard. So I think this unit soldier that we see in this new trailer is likely to be one of those unit soldiers that gets possessed by Beep the Meep's Black Star drive in their ship, and Beep the Meep will use them along with maybe some other civilians to help repair their ship so they can escape the Wrath warriors. And because of this, I think the time vortex looking thing that we see earlier on in the trailer is likely to be either the Black Sun or Beep the Meep's Black Star drive from their ship, which is what's being used to possess these unit soldiers. I personally think the first episode of the 60th anniversary specials is going to be a fairly faithful adaptation of the original Star Beast comic. So for special 1 of the 60th anniversary specials, I think the plot is going to go something along the lines of this, and obviously potential spoilers for if this does end up being correct. I think it's going to open with Beep the Meep's ship crashing on Earth and being found by Rose Temple Noble and her friends, with Beep the Meep being pursued by the Wrath warriors. Because of this, Beep the Meep is going to use their Black Star drive to turn some unit soldiers and possibly other civilians into zombie drones to help them repair their ship and escape the pursuing Wrath warriors. Now, we also get a few other shots in this teaser trailer, one being of the 14th Doctor, where we also hear them saying cryptic, "I hate that."
Cryptic, I hate that.
Which I'm not necessarily sure what that relates to. Another of Donna, which we've seen before, but she also says, "Why did this face come back?"
Why did this face come back?
Which is obviously relating to the 14th Doctor having the same face as the 10th Doctor. But we also get some other footage that we've seen before. One of those being the Doctor's hand from Journey's End, where the Metacrisis Doctor is born, and another of the TARDIS windows from Planet of the Dead. Now, I personally don't think the Planet of the Dead is going to have anything to do with this episode. I think both of these shots have just been used as we're probably going to see some sort of flashback sequence where we see the moment where Donna has her mind wiped. And I think it's possible they just used that shot from Planet of the Dead because they needed a shot of the 10th Doctor's TARDIS for possibly that sequence, or maybe even just for this trailer. Now, one of the final things that's been seen from this teaser trailer. Okay, so whilst editing this video, there's been a second ident teaser trailer for the 60th anniversary specials, most of which is redacted, besides a shot of the Doctor and Donna in the same ship that I previously speculated is Beep the Meep's ship, falling to the floor whilst reacting to something. Now, some people have speculated that this is them watching somebody regenerate, which I think it absolutely possibly could be. I mean, we know Shooty's got to be in there somehow, and people have also speculated that Susan could be in this episode. But for me personally, I think it's a lot more simple of an answer, and it's just them reacting to some sort of explosion. And we also hear more dialogue in this trailer, with the 14th Doctor saying she mentioned Gallifrey.
She mentioned Gallifrey.
Which again is possible that this could be like another reference to Susan or something like that. But for me personally, I think it's just the Doctor talking to either Wilf or Sylvia about Donna and her memories coming back. Now, as I stated, most of this trailer has a big redacted label on it, so you can't actually see the footage. And so I thought that they were probably trying to hide some big reveal for when the full trailer comes out, which some people had speculated would maybe be Matt Smith or something like that, or maybe even Susan. But some people on Twitter that are cleverer than me have figured out what these shots actually are, and they're just more shots from Journey's End for what I'm presuming is going to be a flashback sequence. One being the 10th Doctor, and the other being Donna flicking the switch that makes the Daleks start spinning around on the ship. So not really something as exciting as I would have hoped it would be, but we might still get some big reveals in the full trailer anyway. Is some text that says EV1305, which some people have figured out is hinting at the Eurovision final, which takes place on the 13th of May. Also, it's worth mentioning in the new trailer that we also see some text that, when spelled backwards, reads Eurovision 1305 2023, which is just even further confirmation that that is when this full trailer is going to be releasing. And some people are speculating that this means a new full-length trailer for the 60th anniversary specials is going to premiere at some point during the Eurovision finale. Now, of course, I'm going to do a breakdown of that trailer when that comes out, so subscribe to this channel if you don't want to miss that. Although I am leaving the country a couple days after that trailer is meant to air, so that video might be a little bit late, so make sure you have notifications on so you don't miss it. And if for some reason you're watching this video after that video's already come out, I'll have it linked here. Is Jinx Monsoon's Doctor Who character stealing musicians from the past? Okay, so since the announcement of Jinx Monsoon's Doctor Who character for Series 14, a lot of people have been speculating about who this character might be and what their story might consist of, with a lot of people, including myself, speculating that this could be a musical episode. We've also seen filming with Ncuti Gatwa and Millie Gibson set in the 60s, where they appeared to be on the famous Abbey Road from the Beatles album of the same name, as well as some pictures of the Doctor, Ruby and Jonathan Groff's character, which seems to be set in the 17 or 1800s. And I've recently come across a theory on Twitter that could link all these together. So the photos I mentioned earlier, which seem to be set in the 18th or 19th century, were posted with the caption, "Dressed to impress and beware the Duchess," which seems to hint that a character from this episode, possibly the villain, will be named the Duchess, which gets me onto the first tweet that started this theory. This tweet is from Owen, or @Whovian Life, who asks, could the Duchess be the name of Jinx Monsoon's character? But the main theory that I want to talk about is from Troy Ryan Wood, who replied to this tweet saying, unless this is a new recording block, my working theory is that the Abbey Road and 1800 stuff is connected, and Jinx's character is either collecting or supplanting famous musicians. Given the outfits and the time period, I'm not sure if that would make Groff Beethoven or Liszt. So I replied to this theory saying I really like this theory, and that if Jonathan Groff is playing Mozart, it would make sense. Now, the reason people think that Jonathan Groff could be playing Mozart is because in RTD's cryptic Instagram post, using these same images, he uses the caption 2 hearts plus potato emoji, and a lot of people have been speculating about what the potato in this cryptic Instagram post could indicate. Now, some people have thought it could be referencing the Sontarans, although we've not seen any sign that they could be in this story, but maybe that's just because they've all been filmed on set. Some people have also linked it to the potato famine in Ireland, but some people have also suggested that there is a type of potato called the Mozart potato, and so they've taken this to indicate that this could mean Jonathan Groff's character could be Mozart. So after replying to Troy Ryan Wood's tweet, he then elaborated saying, and I was wondering why do Abbey Road when Lennon wasn't shot until 1980, but then it hit me, I bet RTD is doing something with the whole Paul is dead conspiracy. Now, for those who don't know, the Paul is dead conspiracy is a conspiracy theory that alleged that Paul McCartney of the Beatles died in 1966 in a car crash and was replaced by a lookalike. Obviously, this theory is a bit crazy, but RTD isn't one to shy away from covering conspiracy theories in Doctor Who when it comes to historical episodes, such as trying to explain Agatha Christie's disappearance in Unicorn and the Wasp. So Troy goes on to say, so Jinx takes out Mozart in 1791 and Lennon in 1980, then heads back to 1969 to take out McCartney. But the Doctor manages to stop that one, and Paul is dead is just a half-remembered remnant from that other timeline. So I personally think this is a cool way to link the 1960s Abbey Road filming and the 1700s filming that we've seen recently with Jonathan Groff. Now, it is entirely possible that these two bits of filming are from completely different stories and different episodes, but as far as I'm aware, they are both being filmed with the same director in the same filming block, so that does make it a little bit more likely that this could at least be the same story and possibly even the same episode. And of course, in a show like Doctor Who, it's not completely out of the realm of possibility that one story could take place over multiple time periods, so maybe this could be all one episode, or maybe it's a 2-part episode, or like I said, maybe they're just not related at all. But I do personally think this is a really good theory that links a lot of the recent filming that we've been seeing together, and suggests that Jinx Monsoon's character, who could be called the Duchess, could be the villain of both of these bits of filming, possibly even the same episode. And I personally think this would be a really cool story if this does turn out to be true. But what do you think? Are you a fan of this theory, or do you think it's more likely that we're still just going to get a musical episode? Do you think this and the musical episode could somehow be one and the same? Let me know in the comments. And if you want to hear more about the 60s filming, I have talked about that in a previous podcast episode, which you can watch here. As predicted, we got a trailer for the 60th anniversary of Doctor Who just before the Eurovision final. In this video, I'm going to break down everything we see in that trailer, including the title, and talking about some theories myself and other people have had about this trailer. So like I said, we got the trailer that we predicted at the start of the Eurovision final, and it wasn't the full-length trailer that we were expecting, but I'll get into when we might be seeing that later on in this video. Instead, we got a titles teaser showing us the 3 titles of the 3 specials coming out November this year, and some shots for each corresponding story. Now, as I mentioned at the end of the IDEN teaser breakdown, I have been a bit late to this breakdown because I was out of the country for a week, but this is actually a benefit because it's allowed me to put a few theories together, both from what I've seen on Twitter and stuff, as well as stuff that I've just figured out in my own head that I think makes a lot of sense, which I will be getting into as I go through this breakdown. So the first section of this teaser is the special one, which is titled The Star Beast, which I predicted a while ago. And as I've also predicted, it does seem to be a fairly faithful adaptation of the original comic book story, with a few changes to fit with it obviously being the 14th Doctor and having Donna in it, and being part of these wider 60th anniversary specials. The trailer starts with the 14th Doctor walking around Camden Market, which is the first bit of filming we ever saw, along with Donna's line that we previously heard in the ident teaser.
Why did this face come back? To say goodbye.
We see a shot of Donna with some boxes being removed that reveal her face, and some on-set filming reports from last year suggest that this could be the first time the 14th Doctor and Donna meet in this story. We then see a shot of the Doctor and Rose possibly meeting for the first time as a ship crashes above them. Now, a lot of people have started to suggest that they think this is actually the Wrath Warriors ship and not Beep the Meep's ship, as we've seen another little ship in previous trailers that some think is Beep the Meep's ship. But for me personally, I still definitely think this big ship is Beep the Meep's ship, as it looks nearly identical to the comic depiction of Beep the Meep's ship, which we've had a better look at in the Christmas Day trailer. But obviously we have also seen the little escape pod in previous trailers as well. So what I think's happening here is this is Beep the Meep's ship being shot at, or has already been shot at, by the Wrath Warriors ship, which we don't actually see yet, and that Beep the Meep escapes in his escape pod as it's being shot at and lets the ship crash. And Beep the Meep will spend pretty much the rest of the story hypnotizing unit soldiers with their Black Star drive to help them repair their ship, which I've spoken about in the previous video. Now, speaking of Beep the Meep, we do see him at the end of the trailer amongst some toys, which is a clear reference to a shot from E.T. Now, some have speculated that this location is the Celestial Toy Maker's toy shop, which it absolutely could be, but I personally think this is more likely to be either Rose's room or the Temple Noble's garage, as I'm pretty sure Rose and her friends will find Beep the Meep's crashed escape pod, and Rose will take Beep the Meep in, possibly in that box that we've seen her carry in previous trailers, and will try to look after Beep the Meep, as obviously he does look quite cute, but for those who know the character, he can't actually be trusted. We then get onto the second and most secretive special, that being Special 2, which is titled Wild Blue Yonder, which seems to be a reference to the song Off We Go Into the Wild Blue Yonder. And Russell T Davies has previously stated that the title of this episode was 8 words long, which that title would be. And in the newest edition of Doctor Who magazine, Russell has stated that somebody names the title Wide Blue Yonder and says that it comes from the military going to war, and that the Doctor corrects them saying it's an Air Force song and the words are Wild Blue Yonder. He has also hinted that the original title of this story was a 5-word long title, which would have given the whole episode away, and I've seen some people speculate that this title could have been It's Bigger on the Inside, which would obviously insinuate that this episode would all take place inside the TARDIS, which some people have previously speculated. But if this episode isn't set in the TARDIS, I still think it's very likely that we're going to get some sort of bottle episode that takes place on a spaceship of some kind. Now, the shots we actually get for this episode give pretty much nothing away, besides the fact that, like I said, they do seem to be on a ship of some kind. So they are clearly trying to hide something from us for this episode, which I think is good because we already know basically everything from the Star Beast episode. But I think that's most likely because that episode is not really about the plot, it's more about the characters and the Doctor and Donna reuniting and meeting those characters again for the first time in years. Now, because we don't see much about this episode, I do think this episode is the most likely to feature some cameos, possibly from Susan or Mel, who have been speculated to be in these specials. This also could be the episode where we see Ncuti for the first time, as opposed to him being at the end of the final special. And some people have also speculated that in this episode, the Doctor could be regenerating into previous incarnations, dimensions in time style, and this could be where we see Matt Smith, which a lot of people have speculated could be in this episode. And this could be backed up by the fact that David Tennant has said that they've filmed a lot of stuff on set with a lot of other people that we haven't seen yet. So I would be very surprised if that isn't relating to this episode. Now, the final section of this trailer is for Special 3, which is titled The Giggle, which is a title I've seen a lot of people complaining about, especially considering this is probably a regeneration story. But I personally don't really mind this title, and at the end of the day, it is just a title, so it doesn't really matter. But I can see why some people are a little bit annoyed at this title. Now, the first thing we see is a lot of the chaos that we've seen from the Bristol filming, with the 14th Doctor and Neil Patrick Harris, who is presumed to be the Celestial Toymaker. One of these shots is of a guy on a police bike, who I've seen a lot of people speculating about, but I personally don't think he's that important. I think he's just a part of the general chaos, and probably just some guy who's stolen a police bike, although I don't really know why he has a feather on his head, so maybe he is more important than I think. And we also get a better shot of who we suspect to be the Celestial Toymaker dancing with the 14th Doctor, which we had seen during filming. Now, although he's not been officially announced to be in the specials, we have seen that Bernard Cribbins has been filming for the specials, and he can sort of be seen in this trailer during this chaos, as you can see the top of his hat with Donna pushing him in a wheelchair, which he was seen in during the filming. And finally, we get a look at what seems to be the unit base, and this could be a set that's been built for that spin-off that we're first seeing in these specials. And some people have speculated that this base could be in the Shard, as we do get an aerial shot of the Shard in the Christmas Day trailer. We also see the Doctor seemingly using his new sonic screwdriver on one of the screens, which we've had a closer look at during filming, but still not got a proper look at it yet. On these screens, we also see a familiar logo, that being the AMNN logo, which is a news network that we'd seen quite a lot during the first RTD era and not really seen since, which has led some people to believe that we might be seeing the return of Trinity Wells, who was an American news anchor that we saw quite frequently during RTD's first era. She's basically our equivalent of Star Wars' Glup Shitto. Like, we're all going to be going crazy when she shows up, but anyone who's not a fan is just going to be like, why are you going crazy over just some news broadcaster? Now, the final thing we see on these screens in the unit base is this creepy looking puppet, which some clever people have pointed out looks a lot like Stooky Bill, who was used for some early television broadcast tests by Scottish inventor John Logie Baird in 1925, which is a date we've seen on posters during Bristol filming. So this has led some people to believe that the stuff set during that era will be about this Scottish inventor and the creation of broadcast television. And I think it's possible that the Celestial Toymaker, or whoever Neil Patrick Harris is playing, has gone back in time and planted the giggle during this television broadcast that gets inside everybody's head and is able to turn them crazy. Now, something really interesting that I found out is that John Logie Baird actually appears in one of RTD's most recent miniseries, that being Nolly, where he is played by an actor called John McKay, and was also cast by current Doctor Who casting director Andy Pryor. So I think it's absolutely possible that he could reprise the role of John Logie Baird for this Doctor Who special. Now, like I said earlier, this isn't the full-length trailer that we were expecting, but Russell T Davies has hinted at Comic-Con in Doctor Who magazine, so I think it's likely that we're going to get the full-length trailer during this year's San Diego Comic-Con, which I personally think is probably the best time to release a trailer like that anyway. But that's everything I caught in this teaser trailer. If I missed anything, please let me know in the comments, and I'm going to be making an everything we know for each one of these specials, as well as an everything we know for all of the 2023 specials, including the Christmas special. So if you don't want to miss that, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. But until then, you might enjoy this video here. It has recently been announced that Melanie Bush will be returning to Doctor Who for Series 14, but is there more to this return than it first seems? Okay, so for this episode of the podcast, I'm not only going to be talking about the return of Mel Bush and how I think it might be more than what they've suggested in the initial announcement, but after I've done that, I'm also going to be talking about the new 15th Doctor costume that has been spotted during filming and ranking all of the 15th Doctor's costumes we've seen so far. But obviously, before I do that, we're first going to talk about Mel's return, and I'm going to start off by reading the article that was linked in the original announcement, which is titled "Welcome Back, Bonnie Langford returns to Doctor Who as Mel Bush." And this article reads, "Star of stage and screen, Bonnie Langford will once again reprise her legendary role as Melanie Bush as she returns to Doctor Who, this time starring alongside Ncuti Gatwa, who plays the 15th Doctor in the new series. Bonnie first entered the world of Doctor Who in 1986 as the companion to the 6th and 7th Doctors, played by Colin Baker and Sylvester McCoy, both returning in a cameo role in Jodie Whittaker's final episode as the 13th Doctor. Making her West End debut at just 7 years old in Gone with the Wind, Bonnie has since gone on to lead an outstanding career. From her countless performances on both Broadway and West End, such as Chicago, 9 to 5 and Cats, to her award-winning role as Carmel Kazemi on EastEnders. Now Bonnie is back as Melanie returns for another epic adventure. And here we see the picture of her seemingly on a helipad, which is something I'll be discussing later on in this video. Bonnie Langford said, "I'm absolutely thrilled to be bringing Melanie Bush back. To be part of the exceptional cast, crew and production team led by the force of nature that is Russell T Davies is a career highlight. I'm so privileged and proud to have been a member of the Doctor Who family since the classic era, and to be included in the new generation is phenomenal." Showrunner Russell T Davies said, "Open those TARDIS doors wide because Bonnie's back. What an honour, delight and hoot to welcome back the character of Melanie after too long away. And this isn't just a cameo. Bonnie is right in the thick of the action, battling monsters and chaos and cliffhangers right at the Doctor's side, just like the old days." And then it just goes on to say about how Doctor Who is returning in 2023 with the specials, and about the Disney Plus deal. Now, it's been figured out that this filming with Bonnie Langford returning as Mel Bush, which was kind of leaked through some set photos where they tried to kind of hide her from the public but didn't manage to do a great job of it, and I think that's why this press release has been made. That bit of filming seems to be for the finale, which some people are speculating is going to be a two-part finale like usual, and she's been seen running around with Ncuti Gatwa's 15th Doctor, which is also where we've seen Ncuti Gatwa's new costume, which is what I'm going to be talking about later. But I think it's very likely there's a lot more to this return than just that two-part story in Series 14, and I'm going to explain why I think that. So the first bit of evidence for this is from almost exactly a year ago when the 60th anniversary was filming with David Tennant and Catherine Tate, and you can hear Donna say to the Doctor, "What about Mel?" So as you can see, Donna seems to say, "What about Mel?" to which the Doctor replies, "Oh yeah, she's brilliant, isn't she?" Which led a lot of people to speculate that Mel might be appearing in one of the episodes of the 60th anniversary specials. Although at the time this wasn't really confirmed and was mostly just speculation, and it was a possibility that they could have been talking about a different character named Mel. But now it's seeming more and more likely that this is Mel Bush that they're talking about, and that Bonnie Langford will be appearing in at least one of the episodes during the 60th anniversary special. There was also an exclusive leak from The Mirror back in October, which also hinted at the return of Bonnie Langford as Mel Bush, saying that she was set to reprise her role for a cameo in Series 14 alongside Ncuti Gatwa, which fits a lot more with the recent announcement we've had of her being in Series 14 alongside Ncuti Gatwa. I'm not going to read this whole article like the last one because this one's been out for a while, so some people have probably already read it themselves or heard about it, and it has now basically been confirmed because of the official announcement that she will be in Series 14, which is what this was talking about. So from this and the 60th anniversary filming from last year, it seems that Bonnie Langford will be appearing in both the 60th anniversary specials and a couple of episodes of Series 14. But I think there's even more to it than that, as in November last year, random Doctor Who tweets on Twitter found what looks like a unit helipad in the back lot of Wolf Studios, which is the studios for Bad Wolf, who is producing Doctor Who this time round, whilst they were randomly browsing Google Maps. And this location looks very similar to where Mel appears to be stood in the announcement image that they took of her. So what I think this means is that when we are going to see Mel Bush in both the 60th anniversary specials and Series 14, there is a chance that she has been recruited by Kate Stewart, which we saw at the end of Power of the Doctor, to work for UNIT, and that she'll be working for UNIT for these episodes that she appears in. But once again, that's not everything, as of course there's also been a lot of rumours that the first main Doctor Who spin-off we will get during RTD's second era will be a UNIT spin-off. Now previously it's been speculated that obviously it will be headed up by Kate Stewart, played by Gemma Redgrave, which I still absolutely think is going to be true, and she's also clearly appearing in Series 14 and possibly the 60th anniversary specials, although I don't know how likely that part is. But people were speculating that she could be joined by some other companions such as Martha Jones, or maybe Ace and Tegan, who we saw in Power of the Doctor, maybe Eve Miles coming back as Gwen Cooper from Torchwood. Also, whilst I'm here, I think it's worth mentioning that Freema Agyeman, who plays Martha Jones, when recently asked if she was involved in the 60th anniversary specials, gave a very intriguing answer, to which she said she doesn't know how to answer that question and we'll just have to wait and see.
I don't know what to say. I think that, let's just wait and see what happens. Sorry.
Which seems to suggest that she could be appearing in the 60th anniversary specials, or at least returning to Doctor Who at some point in the near future, which makes it a lot more likely that she could appear in the UNIT spin-off if that is happening. And those cast members could absolutely still be part of this UNIT spin-off, but now it's seeming more and more likely, especially if Mel is working for UNIT, that she will also be a part of this team for this rumoured UNIT spin-off if it does happen, which is seeming more and more likely. Now, it does also kind of give off the same same vibes as School Reunion from Series 2, where we see the return of beloved classic Doctor Who companion Sarah Jane Smith in that episode, which then also led into a spin-off for the first RTD era, that being Sarah Jane Adventures. So it is almost giving off the same vibe. However, I personally haven't seen any episodes with Mel in it. I haven't watched a whole bunch of classic Who, and I've never seen an episode that she's in. But from what I understand, Mel is not as much of a beloved classic Who companion as Sarah Jane Smith was. As far as I'm aware, they almost resorted her character to just being a screaming damsel in distress, and almost made her a one-dimensional character from what I've heard. So it seems like this return of Mel Bush could be almost some sort of redemption to her character of some kind, and it could be seen as the writers giving her another chance to actually be a really well fleshed out character and give her the chance that she should have had back in classic, instead of just being resorted to a one-dimensional damsel in distress that was screaming all the time, which I think is really nice opportunity to give Bonnie Langford, as although I haven't seen her in anything personally, she's clearly a very talented actor from all the stuff that's been mentioned in the article that she's been in, especially with them also seemingly getting her to work for UNIT, likely making use of computer skills that I've heard she has recently that I assume were not very well utilized back in the classic era of the show after they, like I said, turned her into a one-dimensional character. So I think it's really nice that they're giving her this opportunity. And also the spin-off that they're kind of setting up with her if she is part of UNIT is very different to the spin-off that they set up with Sarah Jane, as Sarah Jane wasn't really part of any organization. She was just a journalist working on her own, and obviously then got involved with the kids at Bannerman Road with Luke, Clyde, Ronnie, Maria. Whereas this spin-off, she's probably going to have already been working for UNIT, or maybe we'll see where she started to work for UNIT, and she's going to be part of a bigger team, with possibly the main focus actually being around Kate Stewart, and it not just being, you know, the Mel Bush adventures or something like that. So although it is almost a rehash of what RTD did in his first era in Series 2 with Sarah Jane, it does seem a little bit unique in that sense, and not like he's just doing the exact same thing again, which is nice. So like I said, I haven't actually seen any episodes with Bonnie Langford as Mel Bush in classic show. I might get around to doing that before we actually see her return, but I do think there is a lot more to this return than the initial announcement says, and they're just wanting to still keep that under wraps because it's not properly leaked as much yet as them seeing her on set for Series 14, and the UNIT spin-off is still mostly just speculation, and there's obviously no confirmation that she's in the 60th anniversary specials yet, although it is seeming quite likely. But as I said, during this filming with Ncuti Gatwa and Bonnie Langford for the Series 14 finale, where we see both of them together, we have also got a look at another of Ncuti Gatwa's 15th Doctor costumes, further cementing the idea that he's going to have probably a new costume for every story. In this new costume, he appears to be wearing a plain white t-shirt, some jeans, and a black leather jacket, which is quite the departure from what his standard look seems to be, although I suppose he doesn't really have that consistent of a look throughout anyway. But I at least thought maybe like the orange and the like brown jackets and stuff like that were going to kind of be a through line for his costumes, besides obviously the costumes that appear to be one-offs for a particular era that they've gone back in time to, such as the 60s one and the Regency outfit, which just seem to be more the Doctor and Ruby dressing appropriate for the time, just maybe for a little bit of fun or to blend in a little bit more. So this one does seem a lot more like a bit of a departure, but I still don't hate it. I think Ncuti looks really good in it, but it does seem a lot less doctory and a lot less consistent with the other outfits. So now I'm going to get on with ranking them, and I've pretty much said what I need to say about that outfit, so I might as well put that one in the tier list first so I don't have to repeat myself later on. So for what I've said so far, although I don't hate the outfit, I think I'm first going to put this one in C tier just for now, because like I said, it doesn't seem as consistent with those other ones, and there doesn't seem to be as much more of a reason for it to be as inconsistent with the other ones like other outfits are. But I also don't hate it, so I might move it up a little bit further on once I've ranked all the other ones. So for the rest of the outfits, I'm going to kind of try and go in the order that I'm pretty sure they were announced in. And by the way, I should be able to have this tier list linked in the description. I did have to make it myself, but it should be publicly available on the Tier Maker website still. So if you want to do your own ranking of these, you should be able to find that in the description. So I'm first going to start off with the officially announced costume reveal for Ncuti Gatwa, which although I do personally think it looks pretty good, and I think Shooty looks great in it. It doesn't look that much like a doctor-y outfit. I know I've heard a lot of people describe it as very H&M, and I think some of the items might actually be from H&M, and it does definitely look that way. I'm really liking the orange on him that he seems to be wearing throughout a lot of the costumes. But yeah, this outfit does seem very like H&M shop bought, and it doesn't actually feel that doctor-y to me, but I still like it. I know there has been rumors that this is the costume that's also going to have a hat involved in it, but I'd have to wait till we see that to actually judge it with that in mind. But yeah, for now, I think I'm going to have to put this in B tier. I might move it up to A tier at some point, we'll see. Because like I say, I don't hate it, it just doesn't feel entirely that doctor-y for me. I mean, the general silhouette of it kind of does with the long coat, but besides that, it does feel very H&M shop bought, and for lack of a better term, it doesn't seem as quirky, I guess, as other Doctor Who outfits are. And there's definitely better outfits that we've seen him in since then than this officially announced one. So moving on to the outfit that we've probably had the least good of a look at, we just have this one, maybe two blurry photos from very far distance of Shooty in this outfit, but he appears to be wearing some sort of long kind of orange raincoat, I think. I've also heard people describe it as yellow, but to me it looks orange, and that would make sense considering orange seems to be a pretty consistent theme in this Doctor's costumes, at least when it comes to his main costumes and not his one-off period appropriate outfits. And he also appears to be wearing a sort of red burgundy-ish kind of beanie, which, trying to imagine this in my mind's eye, what it would look like with a more detailed image, I think it would actually look really nice and possibly better than the officially announced outfit, and probably more Doctor-like. But because we've only got these really low-res, blurry, at a distance images of this costume, it's really difficult to make an actual judgment on this because it might end up looking worse than I'm imagining it in my head. So I don't want to put it above the officially announced costume yet, just in case when we get a proper official look at this costume, even if that ends up being when we actually see the show proper, it might be worse than I'm imagining in my head. But there's a possibility, if we had got an official image by this point, that I would put it in A tier because it does look like it's going to be better than the officially announced costume reveal. Now we get to the costume that seems to be what the Doctor is wearing for the Christmas special, his first episode as the 15th Doctor, where he's got this long brown leather jacket, some blue trousers on, some trainers, and once again this orange shirt. This is definitely the 15th Doctor's best outfit that we've seen so far. I think it's possibly one of my favorite Doctor costumes of all time. I mean, I should probably wait till we see it actually in an official image and in the show to actually make that decision, but I don't think I'd be wrong in thinking that this is one of the best Doctor costumes of all time in my opinion. And I've never cosplayed as a Doctor before, but if I did, this would definitely be one of the ones that I'd be wanting to try and do. Now, like I said, it does seem like the 15th Doctor is possibly going to wear a different outfit for every story, at least for series 14, which means that this first Christmas special, Ncuti Gatwa's first full episode as the Doctor, might be the only time we see this costume. But if he is going to wear any costume again for another episode and wear a costume more than once, I would really like it to be this one, even if we don't get to see it for a second time in series 14, maybe just in series 15, or if he has more of a consistent outfit or just a couple of outfits in series 15. I really want to see this one return and not just be a one-off, because I think it is one of the best Doctor costumes we've ever got, like I said. Although I suppose if any outfit is going to be reused more than once, I guess it would probably be the officially announced costume reveal one, because that's what they use to reveal his costume. But I would much prefer it to be this one if he had like a main outfit. So I'm obviously going to put this in S tier. I'd be crazy not to. Okay, now we get on to the swinging 60s with this outfit that's kind of like a blue pinstripe suit, and somehow he's got an afro in this episode as well, which I don't know how he's got that. I don't know if he's just got a wig on. Obviously I think Ncuti actually has a wig on in real life for this to work, but in terms of in the show, in universe, I don't know if the Doctor just wears a wig, if he's able to grow his hair out using some regeneration ability we don't know about, or if they've just been trapped in like the 60s for a little while, or even if this whole outfit and get-up is something that's outside of his control and he's not done it himself. Maybe Jinx Monsoon's character's done it to him or something and trapped him in this outfit and in this time period. For all we know, that could be what's happened. But either way, this is also one of the best outfits we've seen Ncuti in, and he pulls it off really well. I do have a feeling it's only going to be used for this one episode, which I am fine with, because it's clearly there for a reason, for a purpose, because because they're in the 60s, or even, like I say, maybe he's not even chosen to wear it and they've just been forced into this time period in this outfit by some other character. But I'm perfectly fine, as much as I like this costume, for it to just appear in the one episode, because it's clearly doing that for a purpose and it's there for a reason. But it does definitely deserve A tier. It's definitely better than some of the other costumes that we've seen. And similarly, now we get on to the Regency era costume that we've seen, with the photos of the Doctor and Jonathan Groff's character and Millie Gibson all in that photo shoot in that fancy house on the stairs. This one is probably my least favorite outfit, but once again, it's kind of doing the same thing as the 60s one, where it's clearly there to serve a purpose. The Doctor and Ruby are likely just wearing it either to fit in or just to have a bit of fun whilst they're in that time period. And so I don't hate it or anything. It's obviously there for a reason. I just don't think it personally looks as good as any of the other ones. For now, I think that is how I want to leave it. That looks pretty good to me. Like I say, the kind of raincoat beanie outfit maybe could go up in the rankings when we get a better look at it, because the way I'm picturing it in my head, it will deserve an A ranking, but it might not look exactly how I'm thinking it does in my head, and we'll need to wait till we get a proper look at that before I can make a judgment on it. I assume this is all the costumes we're maybe going to see. Maybe there's some where they've been filming like in studio where he's wearing a different outfit, but it's probably going to be a while till we see another costume now, especially considering the last one we've seen is, I believe, for the last filming block and for the finale of Series 14. So as far as I'm aware, this probably is all the outfits for this series, and it would be a little bit wild if there were even more outfits in this, because this is already a lot of outfit variations for one Doctor for one series of the show. So as far as I'm aware, this probably is all of them, and I think I'm pretty happy with the ranking I've done so far. And like I say, the one I put in S tier, the Christmas special one, is one of my favourite Doctor costumes of all time, not just for the 15th Doctor, but for the Doctor as a whole, and I think he looks great in it, so I hope we see that one return. But let me know what you think in the comments, if you agree with my ranking, if you disagree with any of these rankings. Let me know what your favourite 15th Doctor costume is so far, and what your least favourite is if you want. I'm going to be releasing some videos in the next couple of weeks on everything we know for all the individual episodes for the 2023 60th anniversary specials. They're all going to get their own videos for each of the 3 episodes, and then I'll probably do a compilation at the end for all of the 2023 specials, including the Christmas special featuring Ncuti Gatwa as his first full-time appearance as the 15th Doctor. So subscribe to the channel if you don't want to miss that, and thanks for watching. Ncuti Gatwa has recently described what his Doctor is going to be like, and all I can say is I'm very excited. Okay, so recently Ncuti Gatwa did an interview with Rolling Stone magazine where he described what his Doctor is going to be like, how he got the part, and how he personally relates to the character of the Doctor. And this interview has got me very excited for his portrayal of the Doctor. So in this video, I'm going to read the relevant sections of this article that are related to Doctor Who, discuss the brand new look that we've had at the 15th Doctor, and give you all of my thoughts on it. So like I said, this article is from the Rolling Stone, where they've just done an interview with Ncuti Gatwa, mostly for the upcoming Barbie movie, titled Ncuti Gatwa on Doctor Who, The Doctor is Me. And this article is written by Alison Rumford, and I'll make sure to have it linked in the description below if you want to read it all in its entirety. Okay, so the first part of this article I'm interested in is Ncuti Gatwa describing his Doctor, where he says, "My Doctor is emotionally vulnerable. He hides it with humour, but he's lonely. I can't say much more than that. I don't want to spoil anything, but he's also energetic. The poor cameramen struggled to keep up." So this is really exciting for me, because obviously he described his Doctor as emotionally vulnerable, and it's something I personally think's been lacking a little bit recently. Obviously I think David Tennant's Doctor had it a little bit. I really liked how it was done with Matt Smith's Doctor, and you could definitely see it with Peter Capaldi's Doctor. But for me personally, I don't think you could really see that side to Jodie Whittaker's Doctor, which is fine because all Doctors kind of have their own way of doing things. But she was more just kind of socially awkward, which was a good take on her version of the Doctor, but I personally like to see this emotionally vulnerable side, and it's something that RTD can write really well. And obviously the fact that he says he's also really energetic, I can imagine a lot of running, which is very reminiscent of David Tennant's Doctor, and so that's going to be very exciting to see. Now the next part of this article I want to talk about is Ncuti Gatwa's casting as the Doctor and how he got the part. He says one day he emailed his agent saying he wanted to play a role like Willy Wonka or the Doctor, and just a week later he was asked to audition for the part of the Time Lord. To prepare, Gatwa spent a week watching every Doctor Who episodes since its 2005 revival. Although he had enjoyed the show previously, he never considered himself a habitual fan. He emerged from that binge-watching week a die-hard Whovian. I fell in love with it, he enthuses, and he means it. There is undoubtedly a special quality about Doctor Who that's hard to deny. When you watch it, you forget all your troubles, you go to space or another time, you have adventures. And I think this is just great to hear. Obviously, the actor who's playing the Doctor doesn't have to be a fan of the show like David Tennant or Peter Capaldi were before they started playing the Doctor. And it's not like he hadn't seen the show at all, but it's nice that he's gone through and watched it, and that's just going to really help give a sense that he understands the character even more now that he's gone through and watched the whole show. But this next part of the article is probably the bit I'm most excited to see Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor for, because it really just shows he understands the character and can relate to the character. A big part of the show's post-2005 story revolves around the Doctor having survived a devastating war that wiped out the rest of his people. This is a plot point that has since been undone and then redone. Its current status in the canon is somewhat unclear, but it's this that Gatwa latched onto, because in that storyline he was able to see a reflection of his own life. As a child, Gatwa and his family fled Rwanda, escaping the genocide against the Tutsi minority. They settled in Scotland. This person survived the genocide. This person fits in everywhere and nowhere. I am the Doctor is me. So like I said, this is the bit that has me most excited for Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor, because Ncuti Gatwa himself is able to really relate to the character due to his own past, and so it's going to be great to see how he can put his personal experience into the character and let it influence his acting choices. And he just happens to have that personal experience that a lot, or pretty much any other Doctor Who actor, hasn't had and hasn't been able to tap into from personal experience. And so you can see that this role is going to hit really close to home for him, and he's able to relate to this fictional character so strongly that no other actor who played the Doctor has been able to do before, and this just has me really excited to see his take on the role. The article continues, he does seem to miss the smaller scale work that theatre afforded him. It kept me warm and it held me all night, even if I was broke. But I'm planning on getting back to it next year after I finish season 2 of Doctor Who. Okay, so this next passage has two things that I want to talk about. First of all, it sounds like he might be saying that he's only going to do 2 series of Doctor Who, which I think is absolutely possible. For me personally, I only thought he was going to do 2 series even before this interview happened, because he's a very busy guy. I mean, obviously before his episodes as the Doctor air, the Barbie movie is going to be out, which is massive, and he's already massive from his role in Sex Education, so he's just going to be a very in-demand actor. So I just would not be surprised at all if series 15 is his last series. But with that being said, this is not confirmation that he's only going to do 2 series. As we've been able to tell from filming recently, series 14 is almost finished filming, and it seems likely that series 15 is going to start filming before series 14 even airs, possibly even before the 60th anniversary specials air. I can't remember. So they're almost filming his first 2 series basically back to back, or at least in the same year. So that will give him time to go and do some more smaller scale theatre work if he wants to, and still come back to film series 16 if that is what he wants to do. Now, the second thing I want to talk about this particular passage is the fact that he refers to it as series 2, or season 2 in this case, which has a lot of people thinking that they might be resetting the series counter for this era of Doctor Who, like RTD did in his first era. Now, for me personally, I don't see this as confirmation of that. They do tend to refer to the series in this way when a new production team takes over and it's a new era. RTD has been referring to it as series 1 and 2 for series 14 and 15 in Doctor Who magazine and interviews and such. I believe Moffat was doing the same when he took over the show, and I'm pretty sure when I heard Chibnall in an interview recently, he referred to Doctor Who Flux as series 3, because internally for his production team, that's just how they refer to those things. So I personally don't see this as confirmation that they're going to be resetting the series counter, although it isn't outside of the realm of possibility, and it could absolutely happen, especially if they're wanting to make it more accessible to people in America as a jumping on point. But I personally don't think they should. I think they should just keep it as series 14, series 15, and I've heard a lot of people saying, well, maybe they could just do it as like a subtitled series like they did for Doctor Who Flux, for example, which sure, I think is a good idea, but this series doesn't look like it's going to be that serialized. It seems like it's going to be a standard episodic series of Doctor Who, and so I don't personally think the subtitle makes sense for those. I think we should only really see the return of a subtitled series if it is like a mini-series or serialized series of Doctor Who, like Doctor Who Flux was, or like Torchwood Children of Earth and Miracle Day, something like that, where it's just one big story told over multiple episodes. Okay, and obviously we've also got a brand new look at the 15th Doctor in this article, with a picture of Ncuti Gatwa in the costume that he was in for his official costume announcement, but this time he is wearing a hat on the costume, which honestly just makes this costume work so much better. Gatwa. I mean, I was still a pretty big fan of this costume when they first initially announced it, but especially since we've seen some of the other costumes cropping up in set photos, it's definitely gone down in my rankings a little bit. But this hat really just does complete the look and make it look a little bit better. So if I were to rank these costumes again, which I have previously done, this costume probably would go up in the rankings a little bit now because of that hat. But I also believe this is from the Christmas special, his first episode as the 15th Doctor, as I believe this was the filming that took place in a pub in Wales, which I don't remember the name of off the top of my head, but I'll have it on screen now. The article goes on to say, Doctor Who is all about reinvention, and with Gatwa, this bold reimagining can be seen in his aesthetic interpretation of the offbeat time-traveling alien. Fashion might not be the first thing people associate with Doctor Who, but what the Doctor wears is an intrinsic part of the show. Tom Baker's long scarf, David Tennant's pinstripe suit, those are things that people immediately associate with it. But Gatwa's Doctor might well be the first fashion-conscious one. The day Russell invited me to meet everybody, they asked me what sort of costume I wanted. I showed them this Ralph Lauren collection that was in partnership with historically black colleges in America. I love those pieces. They're so preppy and so black. Then they asked what else, because they'd been thinking about lots of outfits, almost a different one each week, which is new. I love it. The Doctor has traveled all of time and space. They're going to have a sick wardrobe. Yeah, this is just great to hear, and it makes a lot of sense because obviously we've seen so many costumes with Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor, and they've not even finished filming series 14 yet. So this is just confirmation that yeah, we are basically going to have a different costume for every story, which is great to see. But yeah, it does kind of make me wonder if the 15th Doctor is going to have one solid iconic look and then just a few variations, because it seems like he isn't going to have that one look that you'd associate with him, besides maybe the running theme of orange going all the way through for most of the costumes anyway, which, you know, is certainly very different to what we're used to. But I'm not against the idea, and like I say, I think a lot of the costumes we've seen so far look great on him, so I can't really complain. And this is just a funny quote that you've probably already seen on Twitter going around, where he talks about the third Doctor, where he says, I love John Pertwee, the third Doctor's outfit, lovely velvet jackets and frilly shirts. I feel a connection to him. Our Doctors are the only two who dress like sluts, which is just a really funny quote from this article. And yeah, to be fair, I can see that because John Pertwee is one of the best dressed Doctors in the whole of Doctor Who, so yeah, absolutely. The idea of multiple outfits has led to a fun press cycle where Twitter is regularly treated to a photo shoot of the Doctor and his companion in a completely new style each time. The most notable of these was the swinging 60s look, with Gatwa sported a blue striped suit and an afro. The hair and makeup department have been incredible, he exclaims. Claire Williams and my own makeup artist Bella worked so well together in creating my looks. Originally we weren't going to have the afro, but Bella convinced me, and I'm very glad she did. It's such a shot into the bloodstream. It's a statement. The Doctor is fucking black, which is just a great thing to hear, and I'm so glad that they're so happy about making this a statement, because at the end of the day, the Doctor is black. Ncuti Gatwa is the Doctor, and so you might as well go all out, make a statement about it, especially if it's going to piss off those people that are just racists and just call anything that isn't a white person on screen woke. So this is almost a big middle finger to those people, and I'm all for that because they shouldn't be watching the show. But this just really has me at ease. Not that I was uneasy anyway about Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor, but it just has me really excited about what he's going to bring to the role and how great of a Doctor he seems like he's going to be. So let me know what you think in the comments, and if you agree with me, if you're excited about Ncuti Gatwa's 15th Doctor. But before we get to series 14, we first have the 60th anniversary specials and all of the specials that we're getting in 2023, including that Christmas special with Ncuti Gatwa in his first full episode. And so if you want to know everything we know about those specials, watch this right here and you'll get all those answers that you need. This year we'll be getting 4 specials for Doctor Who to kick off RTD2, 3 60th anniversary specials and 1 Christmas special. But what do we actually know about these specials? On the 24th of September 2021, Russell T Davies was announced to be returning to Doctor Who as the showrunner to celebrate the 60th anniversary and series beyond. On the 8th of May 2022, Ncuti Gatwa was announced to be playing the next Doctor, who we now know is the 15th Doctor. And a week later, on May 15th, it was announced that David Tennant and Catherine Tate would be returning for the 60th anniversary specials. And so, like I said in the intro, we know that there are going to be 3 60th anniversary specials, which are likely to take place in November this year, and there will be a Christmas special special, although it hasn't been confirmed that it will definitely be on Christmas Day, which will be Ncuti Gatwa's first full episode as the 15th Doctor. And we also know that Doctor Who will be streaming on Disney Plus, although I personally think that could just be for Series 14. We haven't really had any confirmation that the 60th anniversary specials will be streaming on there, but it is possible. Now, there have been a few other official announcements, but I'll get to those when I talk about the episodes themselves in more depth. In terms of the teaser trailers we've got for the 60th anniversary specials, there was a short teaser trailer at the end of The Power of the Doctor, we got a Christmas Day trailer in absence of a Christmas special, and we got some ident glitch teasers along with a titles teaser trailer not that long ago. But what do we actually know about the episodes themselves? On the 14th of February 1980, the first part of Doctor Who and the Star Beast, written by Pat Mills and John Wagner, was published in the pages of Doctor Who Weekly and ran up until the 3rd of April that same year. This 4th Doctor comic book story began with Beep the Meep crashing his ship as he was pursued by Wrath Warriors, where he is then found by schoolchildren Sharon and Fudge. The Doctor follows the flames of the Neutron Drive Star Cruiser and investigates, unaware that he is leading the Wrath Warriors directly to Beep the Meep. After he has sent Beep the Meep with Sharon for safety, the Doctor learns from the Wrath Warriors that Beep the Meep is being hunted by them for unspeakable crimes. Taking the Wrath Warriors with him, the Doctor finds Sharon and the locals have been turned into zombie drones by the radiation of the Black Star Drive, and Beep the Meep has made them work to repair the ship for a star jump from Earth. The Doctor, along with Black Castle and the workers, are caught in the star jump. The story ends with the Doctor returning the workers to Earth in the TARDIS, and the Wrath Warriors capturing Beep the Meep. But what does this obscure Doctor Who comic book story have to do with the 60th anniversary specials? Okay, so the reason this comic book story is so significant to this episode, this first special of the 60th anniversary specials, is that from the most recent titles teaser trailer that we've got, we know that this special is going to be called The Star Beast, which obviously is the same name as that comic book story. And from this title and some of the footage that we've seen in this trailer and previous trailers, I think it's safe to assume that this episode is going to be a fairly faithful adaptation of that original comic book story, obviously just with different characters and a few minor tweaks, which is something that I'm going to get into a little bit later on in this video. Now, obviously, we still think that all of these episodes for the 60th anniversary specials are going to be written by Russell T Davies, which is a little bit different to previous adaptations where Russell's got the original writer to adapt their original story into an episode of Doctor Who, and they have writing credit on that episode. But I think the original writers, that being Pat Mills and John Wagner, are more likely to still be credited in the end credits, just not for the episode itself. And this can be further backed up by the fact that David Tennant has recently said that the original writers of the comic book story were on set and came to visit set to see what it looked like. Now, speaking of being on set, the first bit of public filming we ever saw, which was in Camden Market with David Tennant and Catherine Tate, appears to be for this episode. And we also know from this filming and from official announcements in Doctor Who magazine that Rachel Talalay will be directing this episode, and she's known for directing a lot of the significant Peter Capaldi era episodes, and honestly some of the best looking ones, so that's really exciting to see her returning to direct one of the episodes of these specials. But from this public filming, we also know that not only David Tennant and Catherine Tate will be returning, but we'll also be seeing the return of Sylvia Noble, played by Jacqueline King, Sean Temple, played by Carl Collins, and Wilfred Mott, played by Bernard Cribbins, in what's probably going to be his last role. Now, most of these can be seen in the trailers as well, besides Bernard Cribbins as Wilfred Mott, although you can sort of see him in the titles teaser, as you can see the top of his hat. But there's also some more casting that we need to talk about for probably this episode, but at least the specials in general. The first of which being Yasmin Finney's Rose, who is definitely going to be in this episode, and she's been speculated to be playing Donna and Sean's daughter, so she's going to be Rose Temple Noble. We also know that Ruth Madley will be playing a role as Shirley Ann Bingham, and she's likely to appear in this episode as she appears to be connected to UNIT in some way. Speaking of UNIT, we also know of a couple other UNIT members that have been cast, the first of which is Major Singh, who's played by Renak Patani, who can be seen in the trailers fighting the Wrath Warriors on what is assumed to be the street that Donna's house is on. And we also know of another UNIT character called Colonel Chan, who is played by Jamie Hayden, sometimes known as Jamie Cho, and he's the UNIT character that can be seen in the ident teasers with the glowing eyes, who I previously speculated is being hypnotized by Beep the Meep's Black Star Drive to help repair Beep the Meep's ship. And the final bit of casting that I feel the need to talk about is that it's rumored that Miriam Margolyes will be voicing Beep the Meep in this special, which I previously talked about in another video. But basically, Beep the Meep's costume has been spotted on set for one of the public filmings before that character was even seen in the trailers, and it has also been mentioned that a guest actor was recording some ADR, so some people have speculated that is Miriam Margolyes doing Beep the Meep's voice. And if you hear Beep the Meep in the couple of shots that we've seen of him in the trailers, it does sound very similar to Miriam Margolyes' voice.
Monsters.
Based on everything we know and the original comic book storyline, this is how I think the plot of the Star Beast is going to go. After the 14th Doctor lands in Camden Market, he meets Rose and probably bumps into Donna too. They both watch Beep the Meep's ship crash, with Beep the Meep escaping in his escape pod. He is then at some point found by Rose and her friends, with Rose bringing Beep the Meep to her home to look after him. At some point, the Wrath Warriors will discover Beep the Meep's location, where Unit will fight with the Wrath Warriors, giving Beep the Meep a chance to escape. He will then likely return to his crashed ship and turn Unit soldiers into zombie drones, using his Black Star drive, forcing them to help repair his ship. Whilst this is happening, the Doctor will likely learn from the Wrath Warriors that Beep the Meep is actually evil, and somehow he will stop Beep the Meep, probably by allowing the Wrath Warriors to arrest him. Okay, so you might have seen that I haven't done a specific video related to Wild Blue Yonder yet, and that's because we honestly don't know that much about this special. It's the most secretive special out of all of them that we've got, and there's only been a couple of shots that we've actually seen from this episode. But what we do know is David Tennant and Catherine Tate will likely be the two main characters of this episode, as they have been seen in basically all the shots we've seen so far. We know that it's probably going to be written by Russell T Davies, as chances are he's writing all of these episodes. We know that it's going to be directed by Tom Kingsley, who is the director for Ghosts and Staff Lets Flats, which is some shows that I honestly have seen all of, and I love those shows, so I'm very excited about that. But I also think that Bernard Cribbins as Wilf will also make a bit of an appearance in this episode, probably at some point in the start or the end before they actually go off on this adventure, as I'm pretty sure when we'd seen Tom Kingsley on location doing some directing, it was some scenes that had Wilf in them, but I might be wrong. But I'm pretty sure you can see him there in his pink rock t-shirt.
What's his rock? It's like Nike, yeah, but instead, yeah, it's rock.
Now, with the few shots that we've actually seen of this trailer, they've all featured Catherine Tate and David Tennant as the 14th Doctor and Donna Noble, and in all of these shots they always seem to be on some kind of ship, which some people have speculated might be the TARDIS, which I'll get into a little bit later on. We see a shot in the ident teasers of what seems to be Donna and the Doctor reacting to either some sort of explosion, or some people have even speculated some sort of regeneration, and we also see the Doctor saying sorry to Donna.
I'm sorry, Donna.
So some people have speculated that this episode could be maybe the episode where she gets her memories back, and that maybe she doesn't fully have her memories back in the first episode, The Star Beast. Now, Russell T Davies has teased in Doctor Who magazine that there were some alternate titles to this episode, the first being a 5-word title that Russell said would have given the whole episode away, so they had to change it. And some people have speculated that this title could be It's Bigger on the Inside, which once again would hint at the fact that this episode all takes place on the TARDIS. The other alternative title that he had teased was an 8-word title that some people have speculated would have been Off We Go into the Wild Blue Yonder, so just basically an extended version of the title we already had. And this is a reference to the US Air Force song of the same name. In 1925, Scottish inventor John Logie Baird was experimenting with inventing a broadcast television system. Baird's first system was not able to televise human faces due to inadequate contrast, and the incandescent lights generated so much heat Baird could not use a human subject, so he chose to use a puppet which he named Stooky Bill. Eventually, Stooky Bill's hair became singed and the painted face became cracked. On the 26th of January 1926, John Logie Baird demonstrated the first live working television broadcast. Before I get on to what the story of John Logie Baird has to do with the Doctor Who 60th anniversary specials, I first want to talk about some of the official announcements we have for the last episode of these specials, The Giggle. So one of the first big announcements we had specifically related to this episode is that Neil Patrick Harris will be playing a character in the Doctor Who 60th anniversary specials, who is heavily speculated to be playing classic Doctor Who villain the Celestial Toymaker, due to some iconography on set, such as circus posters and a toy shop called Mr. Emporium, as well as a laugh in one of the teaser trailers that some people have said sounds like Michael Gough's Celestial Toymaker laugh from the classic serial. Now, Neil Patrick Harris has been spotted on set filming with David Tennant and Catherine Tate, as well as Bernard Cribbins, who plays Wilf, whose hat can be seen in the trailer during one of these sequences. As mentioned, we see the Mr. Emporium toy shop in one of the trailers, and Russell T Davies has said that the character that we see in this shot is a big actor who has not been revealed to us yet, and some people have speculated that this could be Adam Scott of Parks and Recreation, as somebody who looks strikingly similar to him has also been spotted on set. And for me personally, I really hope this is true. It does look a lot like him, and I've just finished watching Parks and Recreation recently, and I think he's really good in that.
Baba boy.
so I think it'll be a great get if he is in these episodes. It's also worth mentioning that the director for this episode is Chanya Button, who is a newcomer to Doctor Who, so I'm excited to see what her directing will be like. Now, on set, we also saw some posters that have some dates set in late 1925, and some of the set was also dressed to look like the 20s, which is where we saw the character that is supposedly played by Adam Scott, or another big actor. Now, this sort of leads us into John Logie Baird, who obviously was around during the 1920s, so it is heavily speculated that John Logie Baird will be a character in this episode and will likely be seen during those 1920s sequences. Now, this can be further backed up as one of the codes in those glitch ident trailers we got a while ago has the phrase brooding Elijah, which is an anagram for John Logie Baird, and I've previously speculated that I think I might know who will be playing this character in the 60th anniversary specials, as John Logie Baird showed up in Russell T Davies' recent miniseries Nolly, played by actor John McKay, and he was also cast by Andy Pryor, who is the casting director for Doctor Who. Now, further evidence to back up that this story will be relevant to the Doctor Who 60th anniversary specials, and particularly this episode, is that a puppet can be seen on screen in the titles teaser trailer in what is assumed to be the new unit base that bears a striking resemblance to the Stooky Bill puppet which I mentioned in that opening story. In this scene, we can also see the Doctor using what appears to be his new sonic screwdriver, although we don't get a great look at it and we still haven't had a good look at it yet, and we also see the AMNN logo, which has led some people to believe that Trinity Wells will be making a reappearance in this era. And for those of you who don't know, she was an American news broadcaster who appeared frequently in the first RTD era. As for what I think the plot for this episode could be, I assume the Doctor and Donna will return from whatever adventure they are on in the previous episode, Wild Blue Yonder, to find London in absolute chaos, which we see in the trailer. And in the midst of all this chaos, they will find Neil Patrick Harris's character, who, as I said, is speculated to be playing the Celestial Toymaker. At some point, Unit will get involved, and the Doctor and Donna will help them, possibly by going back to the 1920s to stop the Celestial Toymaker from planting a giggle in everyone's head via John Logie Baird's first television broadcast in 1926. Now, obviously, at some point in the episode, the Doctor is likely to regenerate into Ncuti Gatwa's 15th Doctor, but I honestly, at this point, don't really know how that's going to happen and what's going to be the cause of it. So if you have any suggestions for what you think that might be, let me know in the comments. Okay, that's everything we know so far about the 60th anniversary specials, but we also have a little bit of information on the 2023 Christmas special, that being Ncuti Gatwa's first full episode as the 15th Doctor, as we've seen some filming photos and there's also been some other official announcements that relate to this episode. The first thing we saw from this Christmas special was some filming in a graveyard that I believe was in Cardiff or somewhere in Wales, where we'd seen the 15th Doctor in a new costume, which is honestly just his best costume we've seen so far. We've also seen some filming in Bristol, which is likely doubling as London, where we'd seen filming with Anita Dobson, who is a character called either Mrs. Flood or Mrs. Blood. She's told us both of those names in separate interviews, so I have no idea which one is the real one, and she's meant to be playing Ruby's next door neighbour, but some people have speculated, I think mostly due to the name, that she's going to be some sort of villain or secret villain in either that episode or maybe even Series 14's whole arc. We also know that Michelle Greenidge is playing a character in this episode, and some people have speculated that she might be Ruby's mum or foster mum or something along those lines. Speaking of Ruby Sunday, we also got a look at Millie Gibson filming the scene where Ruby first enters the TARDIS during this Bristol filming, and not long after, Ncuti also came back to this location to do some filming, where we might have had a look at him using the sonic screwdriver for the first time, although we can't get a good look at the device itself, so this isn't really confirmed. We also now know that filming at the Golden Cross pub in Cardiff is for this Christmas special, and that's where we got this new look at the 15th Doctor in his official announcement costume, but this time wearing a hat. Okay, so far that's everything we know about the 2023 Doctor Who specials. If you want to know more about Ncuti Gatwa's 15th Doctor and that official look we got at his costume, I've made a whole video about that Rolling Stone interview that he gave, specifically relating to the quotes where he talks about Doctor Who, and you can watch that here. But also stay subscribed to the channel, as I'll soon be making a video very similar to this about everything we know about Doctor Who Series 14.